PWBSX, the cyberbully. Kill-tacular.
You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy.
The only acceptable political theory is complete undying loyalty to Donald Trump.
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
Shut up, William.
Adolf Hitler, if you can hear me, please save us. Adolf Hitler, if you can hear me, please save us.
What is that?
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
It's important to segregate.
Waiter, more fascism, please.
The N-word.
Oh, the civil liberties and oh my gosh, what about the human rights? And oh no, it's so bad.
Good morning, Patriots. How are you doing? Happy Friday. It is time for the astrolabe, and I've got my my Patriot juice here, just like my president just cracked a nice cold Diet Coke, because I don't want cancer. This is the cure for cancer, I've been told, so bottoms up. How are you guys doing? We got a handful of different things today. I don't necessarily have. It's kind of a grab bag. I kind of had to empty out the bookmarks just a little bit. Got a whole bunch of different things we'll we'll kind of rapid fire through. We got some pseudo clips here to start off with, teasing the pseudolabe tomorrow. Make sure you guys show up for that. The Saturday pseudolabe, one of the greatest experiences on the internet. The main feature this week is going to be The Departed. Of course, it'll be interspersed with waves created by our great propagandist, the pseudo-man himself. Make sure you guys show up for that tomorrow. We got a couple of teases for that here on the front end. I got a handful of different things. One of the longer features that we're going to have today is an article written by Joaquin Flores, who's a guy I've mentioned before. If you guys are fans of the Crypto Rich Does Politics channel, then you're very familiar with Joaquin. He's basically banned all over the Western internet, but he's managed to hold on on Patreon and Telegram. And then he's a writer for the Strategic Culture Foundation, which is like a big no-no organization that we're not supposed to know about or talk about or think about. He wrote an article here called "The Madness of King Trump: Decoding 47." So we're going to read that, and he's got some very interesting takes about the way that Trump communicates. And he's an interesting character. He's Orthodox, lives in Serbia. He's originally from Southern California. He is Mexican, ethnically Mexican, and he grew up in Southern California, and then became like a Marxist academic and labor advocate, labor union guy. Worked for the SEIU for a long time. And then, that's basically the intel world already. So he's what you might call a spook. He does intelligence work. He advises, and I really like the way that he thinks. He's a fascinating guy. So he comes from that like Marxist background basically, but brings some very interesting analysis to the table. And he's not someone you would call him really left wing or right wing. Really, he sort of steps back and just views the great geopolitical game and just kind of analyzes it for what it is. He obviously has his own personal values that he expresses, but he brings a pretty interesting perspective to bear. And he's been making this point about Trump for a while now, that Trump is actually a very sophisticated communicator, and is very good at managing narratives, and that there's specific patterns in the way that he communicates, and this plays into his negotiation style and the role that he's playing as basically a front man for other interests. So he's got a good article here that he wrote that we will read, and then just a handful of other odds and ends stories. We'll talk a little bit about the Voting Rights Act. There's the possibility that I think today is the day that the decision may drop from SCOTUS. Got a little bit of stuff on that. Some suitable politic threads, and then we got a Nick Fuentes clip as well. And then if we happen to hit the tip goal for today, so the tip goal as usual is set at 400. If we happen to hit that, then I will stick around at the end and I will read this article. Now you would not think, given the description of it, you may not think that this would be something worth paying to make it happen. An article written in The Atlantic by David Brooks, but it's actually pretty interesting. It's called "History is Running Backwards: Why Reactionaries Are Taking Over the World." So, and it's honestly, actually, it's a pretty fair treatment. Well, while handicapping for the source, it's actually a pretty fair treatment. It's kind of like he's reached the like bargaining and acceptance stage, and just recognizes that some of these trends are not going away anytime soon, and actually it's from a major, a major propaganda outlet like The Atlantic, like this a mouthpiece for the regime. It's probably one of the first times that I've really seen one of their mouthpieces actually treat reactionaries in good faith and like express disagreement with them, but actually attempt to portray them in good faith. These aren't just like irredeemable subhumans that we have to plug your ears and go la 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 and don't listen to it all. No, there's actually a philosophical tradition here that has some real substance to it. So if we hit the goal, then we will do that. Otherwise, I'll save it for another time. Navy Kip, thank you for resubscribing. Howie Snowden, thank you for resubscribing over on Kick. Pale Morning Dude, thank you for the kicks this morning. Tips.kingpill.com. Let me just drop the link in here real quick. And reminder that tonight, being Friday night, Miles Standers says, soda before lunch is so welfare coded. It's wild the way that skews. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, see, for me, this is like the end of the day. This is nighttime for my clock. I've been awake for I don't know. I got like 4 hours of sleep yesterday afternoon after the show, and then woke up, and then I was listening to a podcast and fell asleep in the armchair for about 30 minutes maybe, and then actually woke up feeling pretty energized and got a good amount of stuff done. But it is the end of the day for me, so. So tips.kingpill.com. Link is pinned in the chat. If you're watching over on Rumble, shout out to our Rumble Patriots. I see you. The link is also in the description of the video there. It says tip your streamer, and the tips.kingpill.com is there if you want to just click the link. Or you can join the Discord, kingpill.com. That link is also over there. And if you join the Discord, then you will get to join us for the voice chat tonight. So I'm hopefully gonna end a little on the early side so that I can actually get a decent amount of sleep before getting up to do the voice chat tonight. But shooting for probably 8 p.m. Central. That's usually about the time that we start. Seems to work for most people. So Friday night voice chat has returned. Kingpill.com. Go sign up for that if you would like to join us. So let us get off rocking and rolling here with some pseudo content. The first one here. First preview for tomorrow, week 65, is Pirate Wave. Where's his nose? Ahoy, matey! Look at those effects. Oh, is that Toon Raider? I wondered. Tremendous stuff. You know, it's I was sitting here thinking about how like every young boy grows up and watches pirate movies and is like I want to be a pirate someday. I want to live a pirate's life is a life for me. And you still can actually kind of live the pirate life today because there are like private security teams that are hired to ride on like oil tankers or whatever through if you're going near like Somalia or something like that, and you might have to deal with legitimate pirates. sometimes those videos make it out onto the internet of like some fast boat coming up, and guys are just sitting there just plinking from way up on the, I don't know, would be the one of the decks or whatever, just plink plink plink. You could still live that life today. And guess.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate the a nice 1488 to start the day off. Now related to piracy, perhaps we have another SCOTUS special. What they've done is they've woken the fighting Irish. Where are my Irish boys at?
I don't think the people in power have actually really realised what they've done, because what they've done is they've woken the fighting Irish.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The blood is stirring. That's getting me riled up. That is getting me... Somebody!
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter.
Ortho Mexican Marxist Serb from my hood? Not your typical Cholito. Tip toward Atlantic East from Grandma.
Thank you, MAGA Grandma. Yeah, an Ortho Mexican Marxist Serb from Southern California. Yeah, not your typical Cholito indeed. Thank you, MAGA Grandma. Okay, and then I'm going to play this one again. We watched it yesterday, but we're watching it again. How the Irish saved civilization. One of my favorite revisionist histories. That's not revisionist, that's the true history.
Last of all, Odin stood alone. Then he cast aside his shield and seized the axe of an orc captain and wielded it two-handed. And each time that he slew, Odin cried aloud, Ore and Tulwa! Day shall come again.
Death! Oh, the horns! The horns! Oh, St. Patrick, pray for us. So true, Kate. So true. Oh, man. You got to imagine a people who were bred on nothing but potatoes, literally just consume potatoes. That's all that they eat is just potatoes. And then all variants of alcohol. Oh, that's my people. That's my people right there. All right, and I believe this is the last Suda piece that we have for today. Maybe perhaps a little hint here. A hint about a future Suda wave, perhaps. The problem we're trying to solve is that there are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. It's an unfair game. We in the sport of right-wing propaganda need to win. To do that, we need an owner, a manager, an autist, and a system.
Why don't you walk me through the board?
Thank you.
Such a good movie.
So using this equation on the upper left right here, I'm projecting that we need to win at least 99 games in order to make it to the postseason. We need to score at least 814 runs in order to win those games and allow no more than 645 runs.
What's this?
This is the code that I've written for our year-to-year projections. This is building in all the intelligence that we have to project players.
Okay.
It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that nobody else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. Age, appearance, personality. Bill James and mathematics cut straight through that. Billy, of the 20,000 notable players for us to consider, I believe that there is a championship team of 25 people that we could afford, because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys. Billy, this is Chad Bradford. He's a relief pitcher. He is one of the most undervalued players in baseball. His defect is that he throws funny. Nobody in the big leagues cares about him because he looks funny. This guy could be not just the best pitcher in our bullpen, but one of the most effective relief pitchers in all of baseball. This guy should cost $3 million a year. We can get him for $237,000.
Oh, yes, Ryan Isaac. He says, Matt knows, as a Mariners fan, we know this team. We know this team. I know this story. When this movie was released in 2011, it was released specifically for me. I was the core demographic for this movie. I was very involved in the whole sabermetrics thing that emerged in the 2000s, really started to come into the forefront. I was one of the first people to ever subscribe to Fangraphs.com when Fangraphs was launched. I was one of the first people there. I was on. I was a religious commenter on USS Mariner and Lookout Landing, the Mariners blogs that Dave Cameron from USS Mariner and Jeff Sullivan from Lookout Landing, one of the funniest writers I've ever seen in my life. They both wound up going over and working for Fangraphs. I believe Dave Cameron, if I'm remembering right, Dave Cameron was one of the founders. Different David, not the same, not the other David Cameron. That was my entire life. My first few years of college was just digging into the whole sabermetrics thing as it was emerging, and then looking for like starting to use some of the methodologies and looking for underappreciated players. And that's what ultimately got me into doing like NFL scouting and stuff and draft writing and stuff for a while. This is the great thing about sports is not just the game itself; it's the game of the game. It's the meta and the business, the personnel management aspect, the finance aspect of it, the tracking trends, the tactics, the strategy, all of that stuff. There's so many things that go into sports that are so much more than just the actual thing being played out on the field. And the sports ball counter signalers get the wall. That is full stop. Sports ball counter signalers get the wall. You don't have to be into it yourself necessarily, but if you're going to counter signal it, your Patriot creds are removed, revoked. You are banished. Mrs. Kingpilled is here. You missed, let's see, you got we got one from somebody, a MAGA grandma from Southern California. I have a feeling I know who it is, but MAGA grandma from Southern California. And then MGuess and Pale Morning Dude. Those are the ones that you missed while you were hopefully sleeping. Is we still getting a KP Sports podcast? Yes, we are still getting a KP Sports podcast. Also, I told you guys, Mr. Miranchuk is back on the live streaming game, and he's putting together a couple of very interesting panel shows coming up over the next few weeks that yours truly is going to be present for, talking to some very interesting guests. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for that. And there's even rumors perhaps that Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo may be returning. You know, there's talks, there's rumors, there's smoke. We'll see what actually happens. All right, this one here, Theo Vaughn invited a little girl with a rare genetic disease who does food reviews on his podcast. And he asked her if you could rename your mom, what would it be? Then there's the first half of it where she answers what she would name her mom. And then there's another part that's coming. And if you haven't seen this video already, you are not remotely prepared for what she says.
You get to rename mom, right?
Water bottle.
Water bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It's just funny. I like that.
Oh, this is my mother water bottle. Yeah, huh? Yeah. That's pretty funny, actually. I wonder what I would name my mom. Probably...
Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I mean, she had 4 children. But I don't think that, but yeah, maybe so. I think that's hilarious.
Her mom's face. Oh, man. Now, what I want to know is why Theo's, obviously Theo's brain is one of the most unpredictable brains in any human being on the planet. What I want to know is why he went from Jeffrey Epstein to she had 4 children. What was going on between the Theo ears there? My vice president's favorite comedian podcaster. What was going on in Theo's brain there that he opted out of saying? Yeah, Superior Beast says, people are so down bad that JD said that we should be listening to Theo. You could interpret that sentence a number of ways, like at least 2 different ways. It could be that people are down bad because JD said that we should be listening to Theo. It could also be that JD is literally reduced to saying, oh yeah, listen to Theo Vaughn, because everyone else is just so thoroughly beclowned themselves. He's like, what could I say? What's someone who hasn't made an absolute fool out of themselves? Well, Theo. You know, Theo's said or done some goofy stuff, but he's Theo Vaughn. Like, you expect him to say and do goofy stuff. So yeah, and then everyone just gets mad at him. We need to make sure he talks to the president more often.
And there's this show, King Pill, they call it King Pill. Absolutely incredible. One of the best shows. Run by a total patriot. They call him Matthew Erickstein, king of the MAGA chuds.
Yes. Speaking of MAGA chuds, I've got something for you guys. You may want to stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. Set it aside. Just focus for a minute. Focus on the screen. I've got 1 minute and 30 seconds of content. Content. Pure Patriot content that I'm about to bless you with. Brought to us by Christy Yamaguchi Main. Posts, what did you say? My wife asks me. Oh, nothing, I respond. All my haters woke. All my haters woke. I whisper to myself. All my haters woke.
All my haters got pronouns, green hair, BLM t-shirts, fully vaccinated in a mask, scared to breathe air. All my haters woke. All my haters woke. All my haters woke. All my haters. All my haters like to burn flags, protest, wear drag, no offense. All my haters liberals and they ain't making no sense. All my haters woke.
Wow, so true.
All my haters woke. All my haters. All my haters. All my haters whack. They afraid of facts. They don't think you worth the air you breathe unless you gay or black. All my haters hang out with Antifa waving rainbow flags. All the dudes who hate me think they pregnant, they just gay and fat. They've been watching CNN and Disney on their televisions. Never seen a gym but get Ozempic shots injected in them. Blaming us for homophobia and anti-Semitism. Think that if you straight and white and male you should be sent to prison. All my haters left the center, come in 50 different genders. Members of the woke mob, registered as sex offenders. All my haters woke as hell, probably means they broke as well. I don't need to know them, I can tell. All my haters got pronouns, green hair, BLM t-shirts, fully vaccinated in a mask, scared to breathe air. All my haters woke, all my haters
You know this
woke.
man's not a panicking.
All my haters woke, all my haters like to burn flags, protest, wear drag, no offense. All my haters
He's cultivating that Patriot bot.
no sense. All my haters woke, all my haters woke. All my haters woke, all my haters, all my haters, all my haters lame, cancel everything. They think man I'm toxic, but they can't define.
Only 90 seconds. Only 90 seconds. Shout out to this Patriot posting himself on the internet. Just mogging on his haters. The replies here are pretty good.
God! I'm the human version of Israel, surrounded by enemies and constantly under attack. But things are finally starting to go my way.
So
with the
true!
election of Donald J. Trump. It's like 9/11 never happened, but Iraq and Afghanistan did. Everything's gonna be fixed. I'm gonna make 5 figures a year. I'm gonna get a wife, and I'm gonna eat chops this thick. USA! USA! USA!
I'm gonna make 5 figures a year. Colin Rush says the only thing he's panicked about is running out of ranch dressing. Someone called the first guy Low T-Pain. Like 20 people replied with this. Never seen a gym. There's a lot going on here, but I like that he couldn't be bothered to learn all the lyrics. No time, I suppose. This needed to get out to the people ASAP. That's right. The people got to know. The people got to know that all my haters woke. Another one. There was a couple other really good ones here. Frankly, I don't believe all of his haters are woke. I cannot for the life of me figure out what this is filmed inside of. I don't know why, but like my brain, it's not, but my brain, for some reason, told me when I first watched it that he was on a bus.
All my haters got
But he's not. He's in like a...
t-shirts, fully vaccinated in a mask.
He looks like he's in like... I think he's in a basement. Is that Shane Gillis' Uncle Danny? Gunther Eagleman has let himself go. These are all total libs. These are all total libs, but when it's funny, it's funny. When you want to be offensive, but you also have to rhyme. All my haters like to burn flags, protest, wear drag, no offense. You know, I was thinking that there was another rhyme that he could have fit in there, perhaps. Oh man, I appreciate how he gained more confidence as the video went on. A rapping thumb. Oh, incredible stuff. This is why I pay my internet bill. I pay my internet bill so that I can see things like this. Now, we need to have a this isn't a competition, really, but just for the fun of it, which one do you guys vote for? That one or this one?
3, 4, 1. We see that there's a wrong to be righted to. We know that we are stronger when united. 3. We exercise our right to assemble. 4. That's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering. Just in case you're wondering. Just in case you're wondering. Hey, hey, look this way. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show
now it's kind of a bot.
democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. 2, 3.
It got me like that Jay-Z gif. Kind of bouncing to it. This is what democracy looks like. They were starting to cook there a little bit. Notice every single one of these. Every single one of these people. Like, what's this? What is that? Is this like Did he come in from Moria? He's as tall laying down as he is standing up. And then, is this Roz from Monsters, Inc.? It's just like CGI for the legs or something? I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching. She needed a chair. She's going to exercise her right to assemble, but she needs a chair when she exercises. I feel her. I feel her. Okay, so we got the dyke. Yep, bull dyke here. Is this the girlfriend? Which one do you think is the girlfriend? This one or this one? Really not sure. Then there's like, okay, yeah, okay. What? This is like the worst office space imaginable. Imagine working in an office with these four. Honestly, of all of the ones that I've seen so far, I mean, she's kind of normal looking. She's very normal looking. I mean, she looks nice. If I saw her on the street, I'd be like, oh, that looks like a nice old lady. But like this might be the most normal looking, but when she's authentic, valued, seen, and celebrated, out and equal. Okay, so another gay one. She's wearing like swim goggles. And then, oh my God. Like, I try to imagine what it's like as soon as they turn the camera off. This is kind of normal looking. I have no idea what this is. Not the foggiest idea. But like, when they turn the cameras off, what do these people sit around and talk about? What are they, like, you know, they're recording this, and then I presume they stand around, they're like talking about work or something. Maybe they have some coffee. Probably have donuts. I'm sure they have donuts. They've got a lot of donuts. But I can't even begin to put myself in the state of mind of someone like this. I would remove my own skin with a potato peeler if I was in that room with them. They are right though. This is what democracy looks like. So true, so true. Dr. Doom Guy with the 5 gifted subs. Shout out, let's see, I see Blaine Morgan. I see Zen Walks. Haven't seen you around in a while, buddy. Good to see you. This is 10 gifted subs, actually. Off-White Greg. Off-White Greg. What did he mean by that? Forever Bulk? I know that name. Fire Dragon, 2069. Ooh. Dr. Doom Guy gifted a sub to Domotica. Domotica. Well, thank you, Dr. Doom Guy. I appreciate you. Hope Pilt says being shoved in lockers as kids, their favorite alcohol from Molotov cocktails, and who they want to harass on the internet next. That's their topics of conversation. So true. Oh yeah, the chat got stuck. Hold on. I figured out how to fix it. It's just easy. I just got to hit the refresh button over here. Now, someone send a chat and let me know. See if it's working again. Combined testosterone level sub 100. There we go. Yep, it works. Yeah, this is what democracy looks like. Okay. Wit says, these are our enemies, boys. What are we afraid of? So true. So true. Straight Buster says, this is the Nick Fuentes coalition. Oh, man. Okay. Now we got an account here that I haven't really dug into it, but when I first saw this, I was like, my first impulse upon seeing this was, this is an AI. Like, this is an AI account. It looks like it's too clean. Follower ratio, nationalist father, political commentator, subscribed to my YouTube channel. Never seen him before, but then a bunch of mutuals are following him. So I was like, okay, I haven't gone and looked at his YouTube channel. Contrarian, I guess, is his name. Our Own Nation. But you note here in this video, he says, you should acknowledge the good that Republicans have done if you're a white, quote, right-winger.
Republicans betrayed me. Now I need to go vote Democrat to punish them. Well, did they betray you? I mean, you knew, right? You knew that they had massive campaign donations from Jewish organizations. You knew they were just the lesser of two evils, but how have they actually acted? House Judiciary GOP has consistently voted against amnesty. NCTC Director Sebastian Gorka has had the FBI investigating left-wing terrorists. The DHS Director Mark Wayne Mullen, who I heavily critiqued, says he is pushing forward on deportations, wants to do so quietly so there aren't riots. Tom Homan and Stephen Miller both say that there will be no amnesty. The administration does not support it. According to the Cato Institute, which I think is far too liberal, Trump has cut the number of people receiving citizenship from 90,000 to 30,000 a month. We have reached a nearly all-time low on legal entries. Trump has slashed refugee admissions by 90%. He's cut legal immigrant visa issuance by 50% overall. The number of visas for spouses and fiancés was down 65% even in 2025. Visas for international students were down 40% in 2025 and will likely be about 70% lower for 2026. Trump's $100,000 fee for H-1B, which I've been heavily critical of, still cut H-1B issuance by 25% last year and is estimated to cut new H-1B visas by about 50%. Now, there are still hundreds of thousands of H-1B visas and other visas in the United States, and that is an issue. But some of these people had to go back to India to renew their visa, and then they don't have an appointment to renew their visas until 2027, and they can't get back into America. Every federal agency right now is working on immigration. Half of the FBI is working on immigration. The US Postal Service is working on immigration and certifying a national bank of citizens. On top of deportations, there's been mass arrests of criminals in places like Memphis, where 7,000 people were arrested and 11,000 arrested in DC. 653 different leftists were hit with federal charges for impeding immigration and customs enforcement in January of this year. Immigration Customs Enforcement is cooperating with 1,677 different policing agencies. Under Obama and under Biden, it was around 30. As of April 16th, 2026, the Trump administration has revoked or blocked 3.1 million different visas. I am consistently very critical of Donald Trump, his administration, their optics, and elected Republicans. But if you're right wing, they're doing far more to benefit you than anybody else.
That might be, I see you guys in the chat saying that you're familiar with him. That might be the perfect balance struck between like trusting and chimping. That might be the perfect, like, critical, obviously aware of certain things that are present in the background or perhaps the foreground of the current Republican Party, but also able to be realistic. This is very well done. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is the perfect balance struck between being critical but also trusting. Using it as shorthand, of course. 7%er says, saw an ad looking to hire USPS postal inspectors the other day. There you go. There you go. Come on, boys. You looking for a job? The postal inspector was depicted wearing body armor, police on it. There you go, boys. Come on. Go get yourself a mailman job. Mailman inspector. What do you do? Oh, I'm a mailman. What's your day-to-day like? Oh, I pick up the mail and I deliver it. Kate says, why can't our guys find this balance? This seems pretty reasonable and not hard to find. It boggles my mind the absolute hysterics they resort to sometimes. I've spent so much time thinking about it, and I've got kind of theories, but I don't know. I don't know. There's social media, there's algorithms, there's the sense of unease, there's fear, there's insecurity, I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably some combination of all the above. But and maybe it's that you're not going to do the same sort of numbers with something like this as you are with like Trump eats babies and Bibi Netanyahu comes to the White House and walks him around on a leash. That's just more exotic and explosive and compelling, and so that can be a really hard incentive to overcome, the desire to keep the numbers going. So, yeah, I don't know. MGuest says, for people with such low time preference, jumped away from me, and everything else in life, they have the highest time preference when it comes to politics. Right. And I think that's born out of a genuine recognition that things are bad right now. They genuinely are. Like, things could accelerate from the current state to much worse very quickly and very easily. There's a number of different ways that can happen. We're living sort of on an edge. But that's the time when it's actually most important to be the most disciplined, the most prudent, to stay focused, to not get hysterical, to not start getting demoralized. If you're feeling that demoralization and you have the impulse to spread that, that's a signal. That's a signal that you need to check out for a little bit, because you're starting to lose your head. You're looking for emotional gratification from around you rather than holding the frame. And so you may need to just go for a walk. Especially if you're like a young single guy, just go out and go hiking somewhere. Go camping overnight for a weekend. Take some time off work, do whatever. Just go somewhere. If you have to rough it, go rough it. Leave the phone behind. Do it like the old days, 25 years ago. Just go out into the woods somewhere and just spend time by yourself for 72 consecutive hours. Don't see or talk to another person for 72 consecutive hours and see what happens to you. Tash God of Fools over on Rumble says, good morning, and of course, a wonderful nigger faggot to everyone, and a wonderful nigger faggot to you as well, Tosh God of Fools. Because here's another great white pill. Enrique Tario says, because of Zach's motion and the efforts of many of us, Janine Pirro has moved to dismiss all charges in the Proud Boys sedition trial. They won't need a pardon anymore. Full rights restored and full military benefits and back pay will be processed. Our lives are now closer to being whole. This is my happiest day since the pardon that released us from the jaws of injustice. I want to thank Judge Janine and Todd Blanche, and I also want to apologize for some of my harsh words previously. My passion is my brothers in my community, and I take them seriously when they have suffered so much. You've proven to share that passion, and a huge thank you to President Donald J. Trump. Thank you so much to the DOJ for doing what's right and showing that justice is still alive in our country. Unopposed motion to vacate convictions and to remand for dismissal with prejudice. This is for Ethan Nordine, Joseph Biggs, Zachary Rail, and Dominic Pizzola. Now, I don't necessarily have any particular affection or, respect for these guys. I think especially Joe Biggs has really beclowned himself. Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent to them. But that's what makes this all the more notable, I think. That these aren't super sympathetic characters. It would be pretty easy to be like, yeah, obviously what was done to them was completely unjust, but they were playing in those waters. They went and got into those waters knowing that they were taking risks, and yeah, they're gonna wind up paying a price for it. Like, that would have been a pretty easy case to make. But nope. They have been, their convictions have been vacated and are going to be dismissed with prejudice, meaning they cannot be brought again. There's an article here. I haven't read it, but it might be kind of interesting if somebody wants to go read it yourself. Grok just made history, the first AI to win in federal court against the full power of the U.S. Zach Rail just beat the United States government with nothing more than a $50 Super Grok subscription, a battle that could have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Interesting. From Prowler, our appeal to pragmatism curator, he says, few appreciate what a fight it is to steer the U.S. government the right way. It took 5 administrations, 1894 to 1917, for America to finally pass an immigration bill with a literacy rule and travel ban. Prescott F. Hall fought for 30 years to make it happen, and it took another 7 for the 1924 Act. Reading from this excerpt that he posted here, our powerful Norwood Patriots. In the closing years of his life, President Cleveland manfully admitted in this veto he had made a terrible blunder. manfully admitted in this veto he had made a terrible blunder. During President Roosevelt's administration, the racial elements seeking to force their way into this country knew that there was no chance of a veto from that sturdy American, and they took refuge in the ingenious scheme of postponing the issue by a prolonged investigation under the control of a notorious advocate of free admission. See, these sorts of schemes are nothing new. Almost a century and a half ago, these sorts of schemes were at work. And many great patriot moments have happened in the time since then. Great lives have begun and persisted and ended in that time. The fact that there are malevolent forces that are scheming and manipulating events does not remove the ability to live a good life. This committee, after studying the subject here and in Europe, finally recommended a literacy test as the best practical means of restriction. This literacy test was later embodied in a bill and passed by the House and Senate and sent to the president. President Taft did not understand the issues involved, was confused by conflicting advisors, and finally vetoed the bill. When Mr. Wilson was elected, it was realized that we had in the White House for the first time a man who openly sympathized with the races seeking admission. President Wilson himself did not come from Native American stock, and consequently had little pride in American antecedents or traditions, and readily adopted an international point of view. The literacy test finally passed both houses by an enormous vote, but President Wilson promptly vetoed it. His veto was overridden in both houses and became law. This was Mr. Wilson's first real defeat by a heretofore subservient legislature. In the closing days of his administration, another restrictive bill, even more potent than the literacy bill, was passed by both houses and sent to him. Not daring to veto it because he knew it would be repassed by more than the needed two-thirds vote, he took refuge in the device of a pocket veto, which proved effective and defeated the bill. A pocket veto meaning that he just ignored it. In the next administration, a similar bill was passed by the House of Representatives, 276 to 33, and by the Senate, 78 to 1, and was promptly signed by President Harding. During this long fight from Cleveland to Harding, the guiding hand was that of Prescott Hall, who ceaselessly, untiringly, and skillfully labored year after year until he finally steered the ship safely to port. He lived to see not only the success of his work, but the acceptance throughout the country of the principles he fought for. Every single foreign group in America began to block restriction, including the Catholic Church, Chinese workers, immigrant politicians such as Seller and later the Kennedys, or alien sympathizers like Robert H. Clancy. This is not a new fight. This fight has been going on for a very, very long time. And it's not going to be solved tomorrow. The goal is to generate wins, big or small, and then stack them with more wins. The enemy will get a vote, literally and figuratively. The enemy will get a vote, which means that there are going to be losses. But then you just figure out a way to turn those losses into more wins, and you keep stacking wins. And you never let up. There is no point where it's like, there, finally, mission accomplished. Now we can ride off into the sunset. That day is never going to arrive. Speaking of the high time preference. That day will never arrive. As soon as you introduce some new piece of legislation or you get some new enforcement mechanism installed, there's going to be people dedicating their lives to figuring out the weaknesses and navigating around it. And that fight must continue. The text here is from Immigration and Other Interests of Prescott F. Hall, forward by his friend Madison Grant. Hall passed away before the 1924 Act happened, but lived to see his Asia ban and literacy test succeed. Look at this patriot here, just sitting here reading books about Prescott Farnsworth Hall. Yeah, our own William Wilberforce. That's very good, Ben Shapiro. That's very well played. This is the best quote from a major figure in the Trump administration. I challenge you to find a better one. Quote, I was standing in the front of my parked car on I-684, cutting the penis out of a road-killed raccoon, thinking about how weird some of my family members have turned out to be, reads a surreal passage in which the Health and Human Services head, 72, was reportedly lamenting his rocky relationships with his brother Douglas Kennedy and cousin Bobby Shriver. From the New York Post, RFK Jr. Once chopped off a dead raccoon's penis to study later while on a family road trip. I mean, whomst amongst us? Nobody ever freaked out when I did it. I don't know what everyone's getting all worked up about RFK doing it. And the link wouldn't open earlier. I opened it on mobile and was able to read it, but it wouldn't open earlier, and I thought maybe it was an internet thing, but it's still not opening. Well, anyways, that's the gist of it. RFK, added to the RFK lore. Roadkill raccoon, and he's like, aha, I'm going to hop out and cut off its penis. We've all been there. Raccoon penis are actually a bone. I bet they are. Frontiersmen used to keep them, and a lot of hunters and trappers still do. Considered good luck. Great for a toothpick. Not that weird. They have bones in them, so scientists study them for selective traits. Hunter Thompson would be proud. Bears, bikes, brainworms, Bobby Kennedy. Never say we don't live in interesting times. Did you guys hear about this Pete Hegseth thing? Trying to turn this into a big hullabaloo. Pete Hegseth quoted a fake Bible verse from Pulp Fiction during a Pentagon sermon. There's this full court press right now to get rid of Pete Hegseth. This story drops in the midst of they're like preparing impeachment charges for him. Just another data point here. This supposedly the war effort is being undertaken at the behest of the malevolent forces that control our politics, and yet the malevolent forces that control our politics are trying to take out the guy involved in that war. Strange. So this is what happened.
So the prayer is CSAR 2517, and it reads, and pray with me, please.
The path
of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
So Polymath here at Political Math on X says this is an excellent scissor event. Here's a term that I wasn't familiar with before, but I'm gonna keep an eye out for this sort of thing now. An excellent scissor event, because Hegseth doesn't say it's a Bible verse. He says it's a prayer he got from CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue, a CSAR commander, which is clearly cribbed from Pulp Fiction. Hegseth says, I think it's meant to reflect Ezekiel 25:17, which I guess it does in the sense that the Pulp Fiction is Ezekiel 25:17 cribs from the actual Ezekiel 25:17. Quote, and I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. To a serious intellectual Christian, this is all a little embarrassing that our co-religionists are unironically using the Tarantino gospel as an actual prayer. But this is going to end up with one side saying Pete Hegseth quoted a fake Bible verse from Pulp Fiction, and the other side saying he never said it was a Bible verse. Both these things are kind of true, but trying to explain the details to someone who doesn't want to change their mind is going to be more trouble than it's worth, and so we will split between these two narratives. It kind of reminds me of the Scott Adams, like watching one movie on two screens. It's a similar thing here, a scissor event, where you get one of these moments that just, it splits. And you'll have people who you're aligned with. There's been a number of these. You have people who you're like totally aligned with, totally in lockstep, and all of a sudden an event crops up out of nowhere. No one's prepared for it. And everyone immediately lands on their interpretation of it that they will not be moved from, and thus forward, you are on different tracks. A scissor event.
So the prayer is
no retarded gay shit formed against me shall prosper. That's funny. Someone said, people will say this isn't a Bible quote. No retarded gay shit formed against me shall prosper. And Polymath says, found the guy who uses the Living Bible translation. That's a good joke for those who get it. Now here's something else that I discovered here in the replies. I've followed Polymath here for, I don't know, 10 years at least. And this person said, I have the worst opinion about this. Pulp Fiction made this a real Bible verse in the sense that matters. And Polymath says, if the sense that matters means the cultural sense, then I think you're correct. As someone who believes in Orthodox Christianity, I think there's another sense that matters. Guy makes a Greek joke. Now he has lowercase o, but are you guys familiar with this person? I didn't know that Polymath was Orthodox. I don't know if he's saying that he's Orthodox, or is he one of these ones who's like, well, no, is he like a Presbyterian or something who says, well, that is a little Orthodox. This is the actual Orthodox. How long is this? Yeah, in 2009. I've probably followed him since like 2012. Yeah, I always thought he was kind of a lib. He's kind of in a similar category for me to like Rod Dreher, another Orthodox guy, but who's kind of a bit of a squish, kind of like, I don't know, baseball crank Dan McLaughlin. These are sort of like they're not entirely neocons, but they're like DeSantoid types. That's kind of there's this particular category of guy, like Comfortably Smug is kind of from that world as well. And then you've also got like Nick Searcy runs in a similar sort of vein. David Reaboy, who's much more aggressively Zionist than many of them are. They're kind of like National Review. Well, they're actually not super far removed from David Brooks. If we happen to hit the typical in the episode here, then I'll read this David Brooks article at the end of it. Sort of a similar vein. Post neocon, but still same precepts in a lot of ways. Yeah. They tend to be more like the neocons can be a little ambivalent on some of the cultural stuff like gay marriage or whatever. These guys are a lot more reticent to give up that ground, but then, you know, you might get like the National Review, the conservative case for gay marriage or that sort of thing. Like they'll have respect for David French, but they'll be kind of quietly like, yeah, he's kind of gone off his rocker a little bit. It's an interesting type of conservative that has sort of been marginalized, and they very much feel that way. They typically have a distinct victim complex. Then you get Rod Dreher talking about a black dude's mushroom. It was his root wiener. I was going to say, if you don't know what we're talking about, just Google it, but maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. Rod Dreher is an interesting character. Close personal friend of our vice president, by the way. All right, so Joaquin Flores. This is Joaquin Flores here, educated in the field of IR and IPE at California State University, Los Angeles. Previously served as a business agent and organizer for the SEIU labor union. Has published internationally on subjects of geopolitics, war, and diplomacy. Serves as the director of the Belgrade-based Center for Syncretic Studies and is chief editor at Fort Russ News. This is published at the Strategic Culture Foundation, and I believe this is a Google Translate link. I believe it was written originally in Serbian, and then translated. So some of the phrasing is a little bit awkward, and I think that's probably why. So the title of the article is "The Madness of King Trump: Decoding 47." And if you're not following his Telegram, you ought to be. He's New Resistance, at New Resistance on Telegram. Very, very insightful takes on the great game of strategy, geopolitics. So he says, Trump has lost his mind. at least according to America's most loved MAGA pundit influencers and politicians who have been attacking Trump all season, casting him as irredeemably insane in light of his apparent grotesque mutation or co-option as an unhinged warmonger, subordinated to neoconservatives at home and to Likudnik Israel abroad. Gone are the days of peacemaking and unexpected diplomatic moves like the North Korea opening, rapprochement with Russia as a major and highlighted theme, moments that left progressive doves envious and exposed their own inability to deliver on the hopes they once placed in Obama. What happened to reindustrializing the country, affordable housing and healthcare, taking on the CIA and the globalists, and, in short, making America great again? We would mention Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Marjorie Taylor Greene as household names, with perhaps a few others, that were known not only for their endorsement of Trump, but in many ways some of the key figures who helped define what MAGA was. And now, this season, an apparently unhinged, insane, compromised, or senile Trump took to Truth Social the other day to get it all clearly into the open what he personally thinks about these characters. And it wasn't pretty. And so he's got his post the other day about Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones being low IQ, stupid people. They know it. Their families know it. Everyone else knows it too. Nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. We say season because, by and large, most of this is a scripted series, like one would find in Netflix or Amazon, only far better written. In that sense, we are in season 2 of the show 47, the confusing, though still popular spin-off or sequel to 45, and also 46, that season where things took a strange turn as America was run by a senile warmongering fraudster, his son on the run from the law, and an auto pen, while Trump operated in the background the type of shadow presidency that Obama tried to operate between 2017 and 2020. Now, one could wax on about the decay of American culture, what an effective American populism would look like in the age of 4-second TikTok clips, ADHD as a pandemic, Monster energy drinks. Excuse me, sir. I'm feeling exceptionally attacked. I mean, today it's not Monster, it's El Jefe. Got a little Dia de los Muertos art on it, Phantom Lemonade. It's not too bad. Anyways, what an effective American populism would look like in the age of 4-second TikTok clips, ADHD as a pandemic, Monster energy drinks, legalized marijuana, organized distraction as a religion, and declining IQ. But few really have risen to the task of explaining how an effective American leader would then operationalize these to turn a corner and play it to their advantage when their end game was to work against the very same misleadership that had engendered this decay. We know that much of this will fall on deaf ears, but land on the right ones. Those who really want to know, those who really seek, will find if they are able. Thank you, Emperor Atreides, for the kicks. Here, I've had the alert box muted. Please do tip your streamer, folks. Tips.kingpill.com. But working against any understanding are a few heuristic prejudices that have been maliciously placed in the collective consciousness. And we first have to empty these from our glass before we can receive any bit of truth. The first is that pernicious cultural psyop known as Hanlon's razor, and then, naturally, that total bastardization and misreading of Occam's razor, the mutated form which then made possible Hanlon's. Rather than a vulgarized simplicity or stupidity, we need to understand the great stakes involved. Indeed, the fate of the world hinges on all of this. What we are seeing is not incompetence, but art. To wit, as we have long laid out, what you are seeing in Trump is not the antics of a buffoon, but a highly competent strategist and expert communicator, utilizing multi-layered and multi-voiced communication in a way no one else has in living memory, with a predictably unpredictable course of managed chaos. We have previously laid out that Trump outsources his foreign policy to either those he declares as enemies, Venezuela and Iran, or at other times to those the deep state and their legacy media insist ought to be our enemies, Russia and Russia collusion. These tactics fit into his broader bouquet of strategies, both in politics and in messaging, towards the total grand strategy. Some of these fit the same model of judo, which Russian President Putin is known for, and Trump has no doubt learned and borrowed some of these methods from the master. When he says he outsources his foreign policy, it's like he gets into this a little bit more down here, but basically it means like there's some things he can't do, but he can create the space for other parties to do it. Like, his hands are tied, but he can kind of wink and nod and open up or engineer the incentive such that another party will do it for him, while he can rail against it, even though it's the thing that he wants. Publicly, he can rail against it or just ignore it altogether while they're doing it, and then he can capitalize on it. For instance, how does one transform a society run by oligarchs, think Yeltsin era, into a society where the oligarchs are subordinate to the state? But Trump has adapted these to American conditions and the American culture, in a time and place which one might call the stupid ages. There's an interesting point to be made here about libertarians, or the libertarian-minded, or the overly individualist, those who still retain that latent liberal frame. If you want a society wherein the oligarchs are subordinate to the state, in other words, you want the state to be weaponized to constrain, to punish, to reorient, to proscribe the oligarchs, it's not possible to have a state that can do that to the oligarchs and also can't do it to the people. And it's in this sense that holding on to my freedoms, worrying about my tyranny, I got to have my free speech, I got to have my rights, that actually becomes kind of a poison pill. Because when you're arguing for it for yourself, you're arguing for it for them. If you're talking about this as a matter of principle, it's part of one of the fundamental flaws in democracy per se, or this notion of like liberal representative government that we have, that if you want the oligarchs constrained, then you must be willing to be constrained yourself. If you want absolute freedom and choice and the freedom to do as you please, well, then the oligarchs are going to have the freedom to do as they please as well. This is why liberty and freedom are not the same thing. For years, we have written on the domestic strategy, and of course the global grand strategy, which includes reducing America's imprint around the world, while improving its power in the Western Hemisphere, a decade before the administration would itself officially declare this. Because this global grand strategy, reducing America's imprint around the world while improving its power in the Western Hemisphere, this is not something flowing from Trump, it's flowing through Trump. But what if these communication tactics are getting him there? Have people already forgotten about the huge Elon Musk Epstein files blow up, where suddenly Trump and Musk were bitter opponents until the very end, bent on each other's mutual destruction, to draw attention to Trump not releasing the Epstein investigation documents with prosecutions after having made it one of his election platform promises? Now, I would quibble a little bit that he did not make it an election platform promise, but there's a point at which if enough people believe that it was one of his election platform promises, then it effectively was. You can argue, you can go, well, look at the list. Oh, it wasn't on the list. You can go find the clips where he talked about it. But if enough people, if people sufficiently arrived at the point where they believed that was something that he was going to do, then he didn't sufficiently disabuse them of that notion. If he was not going to. I'm not saying, I'm speaking hypothetically here, contextually. Then, legacy media and liberal left opposition took the bait and even led the entire Release the Epstein Files campaign, a program still in the works, but one which will no doubt lead to the downfall of the very political actors trolled into calling for their release. But then suddenly Musk and Trump were seen at a ballgame together, and magically their relationship was fine. This is just one example of a broader pattern. Limited by time and space considerations, we will deliver a rough outline to better help contextualize Trump's communication strategy and also the methods themselves, which in so doing also deliver tremendous insight into how power operates inside the United States. Forgive repetition and overlap. So number one, the US president is not a sovereign power with eyes and ears everywhere. He operates inside a vast competing power complex so labyrinthine that it renders the US effectively non-agreement capable. In other words, other countries cannot effectively enter into agreements with the United States because there are so many different interests that just because you've entered into agreements with one part of the United States does not necessarily mean that you entered into agreements with other parts of the United States power complex. Makes it non-agreement capable. This non-agreeability was a luxury, even an asset, when the country was the world's sole global superpower. It emerged during the post-World War neocon and neoliberal ascent, driven by globalist fantasies and the Washington Consensus Mandate. But the US now needs to become agreement capable. Therefore, Trump's chaos is actually controlled, and his moves and signals are intelligible by competent intelligence agencies in the world. Number 2, the US president is like a chief negotiator and a CEO. There are multiple stakeholders: finance, defense sector, media blocs, party factions, foreign lobbies, intelligence networks, plurality shareholders. These are powerful and nagging enough that they can push Trump into rolling out a policy or a product, even though he knows these will fail or will derail the grand strategy. They will push for this to be done, and if he doesn't, it becomes a node of opposition. Meanwhile, more layers in society may believe this policy, etc., may be a good one, and no one will know how foolish it actually is until it's tried. Why not just judo it? So in other words, because the president has the role of chief negotiator and CEO, but he is not a single sole overarching sovereign power, then there are certain issues that he cannot unilaterally enforce his will on. And it may even be such that you could think of this in the way that he mentioned this in a podcast recently. I think it was with Rich. Imagine a CEO that, like, he knows this product is going to be bad. Like, he knows this product is going to fail. He's got all the reasons why it's going to fail, but he's got enough stakeholders who are determined to force it to be brought to market. And he will be out if he doesn't bring it to market, that he's obligated to act like he's enthusiastic about it, to promote it, to go through the motions of bringing it to market, just so that it will fail. That's the only way to make it, to move forward. So if you're forced to move forward with something, then you can't just obstruct it. You can't just unilaterally go this way or that way with it. You have to bring this product to market. Well, then if you're thinking more strategically, this grand strategy game, then you would judo it. So you'd roll with the momentum of it. As chief negotiator or a CEO, he has to include their demands and products and even roll them out. Trump cannot openly break with all of them at once without triggering coordinated resistance, nor is it necessary to break with all of them when dividing, capture, coercion, and redirection are also often preferable, even necessary. Because the other point here that he made, this is really key. They will push for this hypothetical policy or product. They will push for it to be done. And if he doesn't do it, then it becomes a node of opposition. What is that node of opposition? That's a Schelling point. If your goal is to divide, capture, coerce, and redirect, if your goal is to split and divide your enemy, then you don't want to give them a Schelling point, a thing that they can all instinctively organize around, because you're doing the opposite now. So sometimes the most important battles to fight are actually the ones you don't want to fight head on. Because if you fight them head on, you're generating a node of opposition for all of your enemies to organize and coordinate around against you. You're actually drawing them to the fight. This is a key observation that the overwhelming majority of the commentariat, the posters, do not get. Trump just understands this intuitively. He could probably explain it to you strategically, but he understands it intuitively because he is a natural strategic thinker. But all the people, this is the always chimp thing, was like, no, we need to make a really big deal out of this and force their attention on this thing. We need this thing to be addressed. Attack this now. Well, maybe it's not the time to attack it now. And maybe attacking it head on isn't the prudent thing to do. Maybe it is time to attack it now, but we need to attack it obliquely. Because if we mass all of our power together and try to force one thing through head on, then we're actually consolidating our enemy together and getting them to concentrate their fire to ensure that they can put up a maximal defense against it. We're actually making life harder on ourselves. The people who don't get this, it would be better off that they be banned off the internet. They are actively hurting themselves and the cause by continuing to loudly not understand this. Number 4, Trump must balance, stall, redirect, and fragment pressures on these products and policies rather than confront directly and uses split signaling, real direction versus cover direction. He works covertly to inform the counterparties through signaling. This would be other leaders of the world in government, finance, and business. So you have your real direction, and then you have the cover direction. So you have the actual goals that are being managed like off stage, off screen kind of. Those are the things that are being managed. Well, you have your big banner that you fly up here. His ability to just capture the entire globe's attention and direct it somewhere anytime he wants is one of his greatest assets. And generally speaking, when he's doing something like that, it's precisely because he's creating a cover direction to obscure the real direction. So he jangles the keys. Everyone, oh. And when they're doing that, that's a sign that there is a real direction happening under the surface. Slutty Moke just posted this from Trump 20 minutes ago. The USA will get all nuclear dust created by our great B-2 bombers. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. This deal is in no way subject to Lebanon either, but the USA will separately work with Lebanon and deal with the Hezbollah situation in an appropriate manner. Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. Enough is enough. Thank you, President DJT. Whew! Prohibited! They're prohibited from doing it. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here because I've got some stuff on that a little bit later, so I will come back to it. But we're watching the master at work right now. Trump even manages to therefore sabotage or work quietly against the very same policies and products he was forced to roll out. Even kinetic activities, even wars. When somebody comes to me and says stuff to me about Operation Warp Drive, like, oh, he was the president that promoted the vaccines. This is a glaring neon sign. I am someone who misunderstands things loudly. Not even worth having a conversation with them. It's like one of those, what was a scissor event. Like, not even going to have a conversation with you. It's clear that we're not going to get anywhere with this. Example, Iran. Why did he greenlight protests to happen in January, where insurgents objectively burned their resources out when the war did not start until March? Then he told Iranians not to protest in March. Why did he refuse to arm the Kurds? Why did he shoo away NATO and the British and then accuse them of not helping? These were 3 huge factors required for any potential success against Iran. And here we mean, by their own projections, Iran would have likely still survived it. This is something where jury's still out for me, but I've been tracking closely his insight on the Iranian situation. And he's simultaneously much more, speaking in sloppy terms, he's simultaneously much more pro-Trump than just about anybody else, while also being like, all of the narrative about what's happening with Iran is total bullshit. That Iran has hardly been touched, that they still have lots of tools in their toolkit still that they could use, but there's clear coordination happening here between Iran and Trump. So he makes a compelling enough case that I'm consuming. On one hand, I'll consume like Suitable Politic, Derek, who's just has great insights, great analysis, and everything, and he is fully convinced that that Iran has been bludgeoned, and he kind of takes the standard view of Iran, but says Trump is thoroughly dominating them, and that this truly is a conflict directly, a battle of wills directly between Iran and Trump. So I'll take what he says, and I kind of take that with a grain of salt, and then I take what Joaquin says, and I take that with a grain of salt, and I try to figure out where they overlap, where they complement each other. Not all statements are equal. Some are bait, some are positioning, some are actual intent. There are also deliberate contradictions as method, not failure, confusion, frustration, or incompetence. You're seeing this whole like Trump is senile thing cropping up again. They're just trying to, I don't know, what do we have in the playbook still? We got this thing we've run a whole bunch of times. Fuck it, run it again. And so they'll point to things where, you see this even from like the Dave Smiths of the world who are like, he's just totally incoherent. On one hand, he says the war is over. But then on the other hand, he says they need to stop fighting. He doesn't understand what's going on. He has no idea what he's doing. No, these deliberate contradictions are done intentionally for a variety of different reasons. Number 7, bait works to draw attention to the subject itself, especially when Trump appears to take a bizarre or unexpected, unpopular position. Sometimes it is simply to draw attention to an otherwise mundane subject, using his wild antics to draw hostile media attention, which amplifies it beyond the confines of the embargo on his speech. So sometimes there's certain things that he can't talk about, so he might take a very loud position on either the opposite end of it. Like, for example, Joaquin has documented all of these different cases where Trump has said stuff about Iran that is delivered in the context of he's saying this about Iran, but he doesn't say Iran, and it applies very, very closely to the situation with Israel. So it's pretty well documented at this point, to the extent that you could document something like this. Like, you're never going to get like a proof of this. This is when you're dealing in the world of geopolitics and grand strategy and psyops. You're never going to get like a document that's released that says this is the thing that he was doing and saying. You at a certain point you have to follow intuition and the broader methodology and kind of triangulate around the point to arrive at it. So Trump will sometimes deliberately loudly take the opposite position of his own position, or something that's sort of parallel to or adjacent to the position that he's actually wanting to highlight, or the thing that he's wanting to highlight. He's going to throw it out there because he has an understanding of how narratives develop. And the narrative will develop and emerge around the thing he's actually wanting to highlight. Trump is accelerating the contradictions. Yeah, that's true. Raymond Harmon says, fellow posters, join me in my loud misunderstandings of strategery. I even noticed, like, I don't know if this is was actually in the post, but when you copied and pasted this, Slutty Muck, I don't know if you copied and pasted it or typed it out yourself, but Hezbollah is spelled Hezbollah. Like it's B-O-O-L-A-H instead of B-O-L-L-A-H. He'll have these little typos in there, and sometimes it's just a typo. Other times, it's intentionally put a typo there. Okay, yeah, so he spelled Hezbollah that way. Sometimes he'll just put a typo in there because then everyone will talk about the typo, which will have the effect of amplifying the thing that he actually said. He uses his wild antics to draw hostile media attention, which amplifies it beyond the confines of the embargo on his speech. So they might not cover something that he's saying. They might decide that they're going to just black it out, but they can't resist. If he has a typo in there and they can feed this into their existing narrative about how, he's stupid, he's senile, he's losing his mind, whatever, then they might actually amplify the thing that he wants amplified. He baits them into it. Other times, hostile legacy media is set on autopilot to attack everything he says, will invariably wind up approximating his own true position and telegraphing to the public and the world at large, thinking they are contradicting him. Number 8, outsourcing signal through critics. Manufactured opposition with aligned or semi-aligned figures like those named in Trump's truth post above. Public friction does not equal real break. This probably keeps trusted opposed figures in orbit and focus while creating apparent or visible disagreement. This is what I was talking about right after the election when I said, like, this would be a Trump methodology thing where you intentionally create your own opposition party. And if there is a kayfabe thing going on between him and Tucker and Megyn Kelly and Alex Jones and everything, directionally, this is what I would expect it to be. Like, this is what I would think it's directed toward, namely creating his own opposition. taking the air out of the room and narrowing the available options. Maybe you could say narrowing the Overton window or constraining the 3x5 card of opinion. So he's created his own opposition that now it seems as if there's obvious disagreement here. And so sometimes going really over the top, being really personal or really like acting really angry or like really insulting someone can have the purpose of creating that disagreement and making it very believable. So then the question would be, to what extent is this him just using these people and they don't know that they're not in on the game, and to what extent are they in on it? That's another thing that's kind of impossible to know unless someone comes out and just directly says it. Number 9, this expands reach across audiences that wouldn't accept direct messaging. Recent or direct access between these figures and Donald Trump implies at least baseline alignment or awareness. For example, Owens and Carlson. So some of these people, when he attacks them, he's actually ensuring that their audiences get exposed to the sort of thing that he might want them to know about, where otherwise that audience may not even hear about it. Number 10, independent criticism from disillusioned MAGA thus functions as a distribution channel, not opposition. You catch that? So guys like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, Alex Jones and Megyn Kelly, guys like that, they actually wind up becoming a distribution channel for him. Nicholas Fuentes, they are distribution channels for him, not actual opposition. Critics isolate and amplify specific lines. Repetition embeds the message deeper than friendly coverage would. Number 11, message inversion dynamic. Hostile media acts as an involuntary relay system. The outrage cycle is an amplification mechanism. Negative framing still spreads the core message. So people saying he said or is doing this thing and it's really, really bad still actually delivers the core message. Allies are not always primary carriers. Critics often carry the real message further and louder. I think a good example of this could be the relationship between him and Jerome Powell. Then a layered communication structure. So direct statements have mixed intent. There's semi-aligned commentators, which is controlled divergence. Hostile media serves as amplification, and then the public narrative is chaos and fragmentation. Number 13, the MAGA in crisis narrative. Media frames disagreements as collapse and focuses on covertly friendly pundits and politicians. Provides cover for coordinated divergence, makes alignment look like fragmentation, maintains a bench of reliable critics / semi-detached voices, can distance, criticize, or break on cue without exiting that orbit. This creates flexibility and deniability, which is political insulation. Its signals are tailored to appease or neutralize hostile domestic factions, the neocon, various different ideological blocs, etc. It prevents internal and external revolt, so Mark Levin, Lindsey Graham, and Likudniks, while pursuing a different underlying direction. So sometimes, in order to, like some of these factions, again, if you see him as the chief negotiator and the CEO, and he has these agendas, but there's certain policies or products that he has to bring to market to satisfy his constituents, the groups that he represents, then he has to follow a track that is satisfying both narratives at the same time. So, for example, amassing a bunch of military assets in the Middle East to put pressure on Iran, well, it's gonna be easy to get that done, to get the whatever congressional sign on or whatever that you need for that, because it appears to the pro-Israel crowd maybe the Israel first crowd, it appears to them, look at this is satisfying what we want. And so then he'll publicly talk about how great Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham and Benjamin Netanyahu are and everything, because he's keeping them on side, preventing them from becoming opposition to him, so that he can continue he has the freedom to move to pursue his actual agenda. Sluttymook says, like how libtard publications constantly post all of Trump's W's on immigration. Right. And then number 14, negotiation tactics. Public maximalism versus private positioning. Opening position is not the real objective. This is well documented. Art of the deal. Hey, you have a huge opening position, but that's not the real objective. Threats, exaggeration, and posture are used as leverage. Parallel tracks. Public hostility versus private contact. Then, for whatever strange reason, this is the thing that even, like, very smart people, very intelligent, very plugged in, very savvy people cannot wrap their minds around. Because there's a brazenness, a brashness in Trump that most people don't have. The willingness to be so incredibly over the top and to say things that nobody else would say publicly. So just ruthlessly bludgeon someone publicly and then be totally chill with them privately. But this is like a well-documented thing about his relationships with people. This is why people like, he actually doesn't really hold grudges at all. So diplomatic back channels with like Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, etc., alongside antagonistic rhetoric. You could see this with Venezuela. It's pretty obvious, pretty apparent in retrospect, and it's even been confirmed to certain degrees, that while they were amassing this big force and imposing and acting really, really hostile toward Venezuela, they were actually in negotiations with the Venezuelan leadership. And the yoinking was as much about protecting Maduro as it was capturing him. So you have diplomatic back channels running alongside public antagonistic rhetoric. So that happened with Venezuela. It seems pretty plausible to think that the same thing is happening with Iran. Diplomacy with Russia via Dmitriev is merely an open example of this, which leads to the conclusion A, it happens but misleadingly, and B, only openly when it does. So it happens. Okay, let me rephrase this. So the fact that he is engaged in diplomacy with Russia, despite ostensibly being antagonistic to one another, but he openly engages in diplomacy with Dmitriev. So this is an open example of maintaining these diplomatic back channels. So it's a front channel. But what you can conclude from that is they have these diplomatic back channels, because how else would you coordinate the front channel? But then the misleading conclusion is that it only ever happens openly, that it doesn't happen covertly. There's no reason to believe that. Controlled ambiguity. It keeps multiple interpretations alive, which prevents opponents from locking on to a single clear strategy. Here's another really big thing for our sensitive young men who need constant reassurances from daddy. Keeping multiple interpretations alive is a feature, not a bug. Demanding that he give you reassurances or narrow in, lock in on one single specific thing. Be totally consistent in his messaging. Don't send mixed messages. Don't go out and say staple green cards to diplomas and then privately massively crack down on legal immigration. We need you to publicly assure us that you're on our side. You are a fucking chihuahua nipping at his heels while the man's trying to work. Shut up and let him cook. The keeping multiple interpretations alive is not for you. You need to have the requisite street smarts to understand what's happening here. He's keeping multiple interpretations alive precisely so he does not create the shelling point for all the enemies to congeal on this one single note of opposition. If you want him to loudly proclaim, to loudly stroke your ego and say the things that you want him to hear about that you want him to say to you, that you want to hear, and you want those things on the most important matters, the matters that matter most to you, you are actively trying to defeat your own cause. You're trying to pick a fight as closely as you're trying to pick a fight that's focused as much as possible on the thing that matters most to you, that it be most successful. This doesn't make any sense at all. If those are the most important matters, you don't want them front of mind. You don't want them becoming the shelling point for the regime to condense around. You want them dispersed. You want them looking a bunch of different directions. The chaos is a feature. And if you don't get that, if you keep demanding that daddy come assuage your feelings, you are living, breathing, walking, talking proof of why democracy is gay. You are these people. You are spiritually these people. You are why democracy is gay. You elected the man, now let him cook. Then there's a signaling split, domestically or internally versus internationally or externally. Some messages are aimed at domestic factions, not foreign actors, and some foreign policy rhetoric is actually domestic management. Number 15, temporal layering. Short-term media cycles versus the longer strategic movement. Immediate noise versus slow directional shifts. More, again, kind of like throwing up a bunch of chaff to keep the chattering classes going while you're slowly moving directions. Number 16, foreign policy extension of the same method. Nominal oppositional framing while maintaining selective cooperation or contact. You've seen this all over the place. You've seen it with Venezuela, you've seen it with Iran, you've seen it with North Korea, you've seen it with Russia. The question might be, to what extent is this happening with Europe? It works with networks inside target countries, not just the official governments. Because remember, sometimes they're not actually negotiating with the official government. They're not actually working with or collaborating with or whatever with the official governments. They might be working with oppositional factions within those countries. So can align with factions currently in power or, in Israel, not currently in power. What he's implying here is that Trump's pro-Israel stance is not pro-Likudnik. It's not pro-Netanyahu. It's pro-Israel to the exclusion of the Likudniks and Netanyahu. But you can't just I don't know, send federal marshals to arrest Netanyahu or something. This is another one of those where if he was to attack this on its face, the way that all the fucking spurgs on the internet want him to, it would be self-defeating. He would be removed from his position as CEO and chief negotiator if he did that. Some of the products that he has to put forth are actually products that he can't put forth. It works the same. Sometimes the factions that he represents are going to corner him into having to put forth a product that he knows is going to fail, but the only way to ensure its failure is to put it forth. The inversion of that is that there are some things that he might want to put forth, but putting it forth would ensure that it fails, and you don't want it to fail. So instead, you have to slow play it. This is why, saying that when Trump talks about liking Israel or loving Israel or advocating for Israel, you have to be able to separate these separate components, which is Israel as a geostrategic hub. There is Israel, the physical land. There is Israel, the current reigning government in Israel, and there is Israel, the political entity. And you could also say there is Israel, you might say however you would say the greater Israel project itself. There's also, these are all different. You can say Israel, and you could mean any of these things, but they are different. Plausible deniability is built into the system. You can disavow statements as rhetoric. Oh yeah, it's just rhetoric. I didn't actually mean it. You can point to critics as independent. Look, I've got all these different critics that I've aligned against myself. And you can shift positions without admitting the change, which he's done many, many times, and this is clearly for strategic purposes. So the concluding end state. This outlines Trump's controlled chaos messaging tuned to the age of digital media, along with his own impression of Putin-style judo against the globalist factions within the US and abroad. as well as against the Likudniks, who, for their part, are operating their own chaos game, neither multipolar nor globalist. There is no single clear line of policy for those who are not read in, while a relatively coherent line exists for those who are. So he's identifying here that Likudnik policy itself is not equivalent to multipolar policy, like, say, BRICS, nor globalist policy, i.e., say, City of London. There is also Likudnik policy, which is its own separate thing that has some support and history with America, has some support and history with City of London, and also does not. It's also its own independent thing. Signals overlap and at times contradict, with real direction embedded across channels rather than declared outright. What appears as chaos is in fact structured communication and deliberate maneuvering aimed at integrating the US into the multipolar world in as strong a position as possible. Unthinking and overconfident liberal critics no doubt view this as impossible and will discard it as a conspiracy theory and six-dimensional chess, all the while failing to realize the short time lapse between conspiracy theory and conspiracy fact, and that multidimensional chess is an actual phenomenon, otherwise known to the thinking part of the world as grand strategy. That was Joaquin Flores, published in the Strategic Culture Foundation. I'm kind of curious to see, like, saying Strategic Culture Foundation. I'm kind of testing to see if YouTube censors it because of that, because there is a history of that. But you can follow him on Telegram at New Resistance. A very, very good. Like, the two main Telegram channels that I consistently follow are at New Resistance, Joaquin Flores, and An Appeal to Pragmatism, or Pragmatic Politics, I believe, is the actual at. Practical Politics. Practical Politics on Telegram. That's An Appeal to Pragmatism. Okay, so what do I got here next? All right, so now I got some more Trump stuff. We're going to talk about he's saying out loud now what the ballroom is all about, which is kind of interesting. And I wanted to, before I got into all these different Trump clips that I have here for today, I wanted to read that first to kind of frame some of the things that we'll talk about with this. We'll talk a little bit about the Voting Rights Act. We'll talk about this Israel-Lebanon ceasefire, which, you know, supposedly maybe more stuff coming out about that today may happen while we're talking. We'll also talk about the Iranian nuclear dust subject. And talk about the midterms a little bit, and then we got Nick Fuentes talking about Charlie Kirk and the ATF report in the Charlie Kirk murder case. So we will get back to that here in just a moment. I need to go. What was it that Jason said? It's funny. The guy who says wearing shorts is gay says that he's going to go make a TT. So I'm going to give you guys a little leftist ass eating. I'm going to go make a TT, and I will be right back.
Your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. Your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up? I'm gonna haul him up back chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up that chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, well, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. last thing I do, I'm going to get my hands around your throat.
And we return. Please do, Mrs. Kingpilled is getting bored in the chat. Please do contribute to the daily tip goal, tips.kingpilled.com. She will add you to the nice list. I can tell that her fingers are itching. She wants to add people to the nice list. She has a default naughty list, but if you monetarily contribute to the lab to keep my family housed and clothed and fed, then she will add you to the nice list. Tips.kingpilled.com for that.
Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Or you can do that. 5 gifted subs from Dr. Doom Guy. Thank you, Patriot, for that. Do I recognize any of these names? Izzy is Dumbo. Well, that's not very nice. Witch Attend, Code R2, Foodie Shooter A, and Kuzil. Suspicious. Suspicious, I say. I think maybe that happens when, well, no, there's people in here who don't have subs. It's very interesting that it does that. Thank you, Dr. Doom Guy, for the gifted subs. You have been added to the nice list. A reminder that you can, there's lots of ways you can tip. You can use Buy Me a Coffee. You can use Cash App. You can use Venmo. Those are all just at King Pilled. For those, there's I think if you're in the replay game, the Bitcoin link is in the link there, and then the description if you want to contribute that way. All of those methods will not trigger an alert. If you do want to trigger an alert here on the stream, then go to tips.kingpilled.com. Reminder, to ensure that the little automation thing doesn't break, then you're going to have to, let's just say the name has to be all one word, no spaces, no special characters, no punctuation, and you got to keep the message under 250 characters. If you do those things, then it should trigger, it should work, should play here on screen. If you use one of the other methods, then just let me know, and I will shout you out. All right. So, this one here, this one's just, when this sort of thing comes across my timeline, I can't not play it. I gotta work this one in somehow.
As a fellow human being, I'd like to know how you weather the storm. He calmly looked at me and he said, I am the storm. Even then...
That's my president!
Calmly looked at me and he said, I am the storm. Even then, I had those words ringing out in my brain. Through the election campaign, through his presidency, through his post-presidency, and now we're in another cycle again. And I keep thinking to myself, there's only one person who can navigate perfectly through the storm, and that's the creator of the storm. So these people are very powerful, formidable, and they're much smarter than we make them out to be. And they are not to be underestimated. And I think we always seem to do that. He's smart.
You see what I see? You see what I see? What do they mean by this? A 47-second clip. My president is the storm. Patriots are in control, boys.
Good afternoon, Patriots. This is Agent Q.
Now, he posted this yesterday. He's been talking about this ballroom. Well, he's just saying it out loud now, what's going on. He says the White House doesn't have a ballroom, no taxpayer money, which presidents have desperately wanted and desired for over 150 years. But a Trump-hating Washington, D.C. District Court judge, a man who has gone out of his way to undermine national security and to make sure that this great gift to America gets delayed or doesn't get built, is attempting to prevent future presidents and world leaders from having a safe and secure large-scale meeting place or ballroom, one with bomb shelters, a state-of-the-art hospital and medical facilities, protective partitioning, top-secret military installations, well, I guess they're sort of top secret now, structures and equipment, protective missile-resistant steel, columns, roofs, and beams, drone-proof ceilings and roofs, military-grade venting, and bullet, ballistic, and blast-proof glass, which all means that no future president living in the White House without this ballroom can ever be safe and secure at events, future inaugurations, or global summits. This magnificent space will allow them to carry out their vital duties as the leader of our nation. Notice how he's saying, no future president is ever going to have it. Then he says, this space will allow them. So it's going to happen. Furthermore, the ballroom, which is being constructed on budget and ahead of schedule, is needed now. Almost all material necessary for its construction is being built and or on its way to the site, ready for installation and erection. He said erection. Much of it has already been paid for, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. If somebody, especially one with no standing, had a complaint, why wasn't it filed many months earlier, long before construction was started? The public record was open for all to see. Everybody knew that it was planned and going to be built. This highly political judge and his illegal overreach is out of control and costing our nation greatly. This is a mockery to our court system. The ballroom is deeply important to our national security, and no judge can be allowed to stop this historic and militarily imperative project. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, he is setting up the judiciary and the military in opposition to each other. Isn't that interesting? Now we have judges trying to block military projects. That's a curious framing. The military versus the judiciary. Huh. And I don't really have an explanation necessarily for why he would go into such great detail about top secret military installations, bomb shelters, hospital and medical facilities, military grade venting, drone proof ceilings and roofs, blast proof glass, all this stuff. Living Dead!
My president has dunked on the gays of Hormuz, and now he requires a new room to hold his great balls at the White House, with military-grade venting.
Tremendous. Tremendous. Living Dead, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Would read again. Tremendous posting. That was Living Dead who posted that. So good. My president has dunked on the gays of Hormuz. And now he requires a new room to hold his great balls at the White House with military-grade venting. You always want to make sure you've got good venting for your great balls. Ninja of Spades says, judges want world leaders in danger? Why is that so, general public? Yeah, indeed. Why is that so? So the real thing that stands out to me from this is the rhetorical positioning of the judiciary against the military. But for why he went into such great detail about everything that goes into it, I don't really have an explanation for that. I find it fascinating. He's doing his thing. You know, you don't always have to understand what he's cooking. You just got to let him cook. And I hope those of you who know can appreciate me having these clips back to back, right? Or these tabs next to each other. I am the storm, and that guy. little Easter eggs for those who pay close attention. A couple of these clips here are these are just funny. His big no tax on tips conference that he does, or his presser that he did in Vegas. I love that he goes to Vegas to pimp out his no tax on tips. Just very well played. There's the typical leadership class tries their hardest to pretend, they like slovenly, they get down in the mud. They try to pretend they're just the common man, just a man of the people. They try so desperately to act like they aren't a cloistered attempt at an aristocracy. One of the great things about Trump is that he doesn't even get into all of those pretenses.
Probably about $4,000 or $5,000, and they wanted to raise your taxes. The great big beautiful bill also slashed taxes on millions of American small businesses, including restaurants, dry cleaners, corner stores. What is a corner store? I've never heard that term. I know what a corner store is, but I've never heard it described. A corner store. Who the hell wrote that, please? And more.
Who the hell wrote that? There's layers to this one, because Number one, he's like, I've heard of a corner store, but I don't know what it is. Can someone tell me what a corner store is? And then, and then also, like, he's just so matter of fact, and like, I'm sitting here reading a script that somebody else put together for me. You know, most people might be like, they're very proper about like reading and then looking up and reading and looking up and the proper delivery of it, and maybe like you read the teleprompter, but you try to make it look like you're not reading the teleprompter. No, he's like, there's a script here. Somebody wrote this script for me. Can someone, like, why'd you put that in there? And on a related note, I played the clips for you the other day about the DoorDash lady who came and knocked on the Oval Office, the first ever DoorDash delivery at the Oval Office. Came and knocked on the door. They talked about her husband having cancer and all that. Listen to this.
Earlier this week at the...
Hey-o! Magoo! Look at those moves!
Never listen to a panikin. You will do very well in life. Ignore the panikins.
So true, Magoo. So incredibly true. I haven't added that to the soundboard yet. I got to figure out what I'm going to take off because I got to add a couple more here. So I got to remove some. There's some that I don't know. I end up using all of them at some point. So I gotta decide. I gotta figure out which ones to get rid of. But I'm gonna give you these.
Keep my motherfucking president name out your mouth. Fuck, niggas. Don't fuck with my motherfucking president. Nigga, we ride with Donald Trump over here, niggas.
So true. Look at my African American.
Earlier this week at the White House, I met a wonderful woman named Sharon Simmons, a grandmother driving DoorDash to help support her husband's cancer treatment. She's got serious cancer. She's going to be okay, I think. Sharon delivered McDonald's to the Oval Office. It was a little bit of a, to be honest, it was a little tacky. They come up with these crazy ideas like McDonald's, although that was the biggest ever on Google. They say #1 ever. And the garbage truck. I mean, we do these things in politics. They're a little embarrassing. They're a little tiny embarrassing, but we do them, and you win by landslides. It's one of the... So we got to keep doing them. No, we got to knock on the Oval Office door. This does not happen. That's the first maybe in the history of the Oval Office. And it was a very beautiful woman standing there with 2 big bags of McDonald's hamburgers. And I say, is this really believable? I said, but the point of it was she made...
Just breaking the fourth wall. This is classic Trump. This is why Americans fucking love Donald Trump. Because of this right here. Yeah, we do all this stuff, all these formalities, and you got to do like your little get your staged moment and make the whole thing out of it. And we do it because you got to do it, and you win by landslides, but it's kind of tacky, right? Yeah, it's not very believable. It's very obviously staged. Just leaning straight into it, breaking the fourth wall. This is how you can be a billionaire, shamelessly representative of not the common man, and yet be so beloved by the common man and be able to connect and relate to the common man. He loves the common man. He is so happy to be in a crowd of Americans, a crowd of ordinary Americans. He's got deep love and respect for them, even recognizing he is not one of them. This is the greatest example of true Anglo-aristocratic spirit in the world today. Donald Trump is the greatest representative of that. So, the man who is owned by Israel here posted this, I believe this was yesterday. The days all blend together now. He says, I just had excellent conversations with the highly respected President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. The highly respected President of Lebanon and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. These two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they will formally begin a 10-day ceasefire at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. On Tuesday, the two countries met for the first time in 34 years here in Washington, D.C., with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I have directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio, together with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Raisin Kane, to work with Israel and Lebanon to achieve a lasting peace. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world, and this will be my 10th. So let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump. Sir, yes, sir. Let's get it done. So true, Mr. President. And then he adds, in addition to the statement just issued, I will be inviting the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and the President of Lebanon, Joseph Aoun, to the White House for the first meaningful talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1983, a very long time ago. Both sides want to see peace, and I believe that will happen quickly. Now, some interesting background on this. Trump announced his 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon and says he will convene summit at the White House between Israel and Lebanese leaders. Reporting for Axios, Barak Ravid says, Trump pushed this ceasefire through, a senior Israeli official told me. And, okay, yeah, so there was a couple other quotes. I didn't end up pulling them together for this show, but there was a couple other quotes where Netanyahu is coming under tremendous domestic pressure for this. That the Iranian escapade is looking more and more to the Israelis like it's been a great failure, like Netanyahu has been hoodwinked. He got totally bent over a barrel by Donald Trump. And they're very, very unhappy about this. Now, I kind of suspect that this is not going to actually hold, that this situation is going to continue to escalate. I don't think that we've heard the last of it, given what I know about Israel, and the Likudniks specifically. But an interesting subplot to this is it is still an open question as to whether or not Bibi Netanyahu is actually alive. He hasn't been seen in public, absent very curious, like plausible deniability or like weird things with AI artifacts and videos and stuff. Having him come to the White House is going to be something that like they can't fake that. If Bibi Netanyahu is dead, they're not going to be able to fake him going to the White House. I'm sorry. They're not going to be able to pull off that. So if Bibi Netanyahu is dead, but they're trying to pretend that he's still alive, they're operating with Bibi Netanyahu, the I don't know, like the specter of Bibi Netanyahu now, while hiding the fact that he's actually been killed or incapacitated or something like that. Bibi Netanyahu, yeah. Slutty Milk's done it again, folks. Slutty Milk's in the chat. This would be very interesting if they're like, if Bibi's actually dead and this is basically forcing their hand to reveal that he's actually dead. Very, very on brand for Trump to do something like that. Oh, yes, we're inviting you to the White House. And the first that they heard about it was when he posted it on Truth Social and publicly told the entire world that both sides want to see peace and that they're going to be meeting for this landmark, gigantic, first time in 30-something years, 40-something years. The first time they hear about it is when it gets posted by Trump on Truth Social. No!
Okay, Jew. Okay, you fucking Jew. Fucking Jew from Israel. Silence.
And then when he was asked about this, got a couple other good clips from him. He's asked about what makes this, what's different this time in the negotiations with Israel and Lebanon. And this is what he said.
Israel and Lebanon have tried to make peace before. What's going to be the difference this time? Me. I'm the big difference. Me.
All hail. All hail, my liege. What's the difference? Me. Next question. How does he do it? There is none other like him. There will be none other like him. He is a singular figure. Then I got this clip here of him with Maria Bartiromo. And if you noticed when I played these clips yesterday, you might have noticed that his voice sounded a little raspy. Well, he gave you a He gives an explanation here for why that is.
Have you been negotiating a lot all day? I mean, is that why your voice is hoarse?
I've been screaming at Iranians all day, yes.
I've been screaming at Iranians all day. Just a day in the life of my president. Screaming at Iranians all day. You stupid rug merchants!
Yeah.
Is that why your voice is hoarse?
I've been screaming at Iranians all day, yes. A little bit of a laryngitis because of my scream. I've been screaming at Iranians.
So the Iran leadership you're screaming at?
You know why? Because that's the only thing they understand. They don't understand being nice. They understand the way I have to do business. I treat all people differently.
The president's being loud.
I treat all people differently. That's again, he says these things in very simple terms, very simple language, but there's actually kind of a rather deep insight there that in negotiating and in any sort of big professional setting, like just generally interpersonally, like treating people differently based on who you're relating to. So if you're talking to North Korea, then you might you might give them the MAGA cock and tell them about why your button is bigger and that your button actually works. You get the big bravado, especially with the Middle Eastern personalities. They respond very well to this, to the gangster, the guy who's just going to pull it out and slap it on the table in front of you. That's how they relate. That's how their culture works. They respect that actually much more than maybe an Anglo might. They might not appreciate that in quite the same way. So he's got part of this is just experience, just life experience. He's related to these kinds to all sorts of different people. You're working in real estate in New York and in all these other countries. He's gotten tons and tons of experience with the different temperaments and personality types and cultural customs and all that of all these different places. He's got Trump hotels all over the world. He's related to them for his entire life, his entire career. So he knows, whether consciously or intuitively, he knows that you talk to him differently. Living Dead says, my president understands that humans are not fungible. So true. Yeah, some of them live in shithole countries. Some of them don't even have countries. We don't want them here. Ninja Space says, I talk to blacks different. you talk to him like you're talking to him. You get the voice you get with the dog. Here, boy. Here, boy. And then here, Iran. This is another one of these where with Iran, he's been doing a lot of this, where it's really not clear who he's actually talking to with Iran, but it's become evident that there are factions in Iran that he is not talking to and is not on good terms with, and there are factions that he is talking to and he is on good terms with. But he does this sort of thing all the time, where he comes out and he announces things. I sort of joked about it with the Israel-Lebanon thing. Was their first indicator that meeting was happening when he publicly announced it? Because, what are you going to do if you're Israel and Lebanon and Trump tells the whole world, hey, we're going to have this big legendary summit at the White House and you guys are going to be there? What do you say, no, sorry, actually, can't make it. I calendar's full that day. No, of course not. You're going to be, oh, okay, I guess. Quick, clear out the calendar. Fire up the jet. We're going to have to be there. So just the same here. He says, Iran has agreed to no nuclear weapons and they will hand over the nuclear dust. Now, I guarantee you that there are, at the very least, factions within Iran who have not agreed to this at all.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully.
So not only have they agreed to it, but they've agreed to it very powerfully. And these phrases are not meaningless. There's a reason why he says these things. They've agreed to it very powerfully. They didn't just sort of I guess, maybe, sort of. No, they have wholeheartedly agreed to it.
They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
So again, people will get bogged down on whether or not it's true. You're missing the point. You're missing the plot here. It has now become true because the President of the United States, the most powerful public political figure in the world, has publicly declared this to be the case. That fundamentally changes the facts on the ground. That fundamentally changes the state of things. Does it guarantee you that there are leadership factions within Iran who are like, the fuck are we talking? No, we haven't agreed to that. No, who's agreeing to this? He's done this a number of times where he just fires something off, and you know that there's probably people within Iran whose heads are melting, trying to figure out who's talking to him, who said that, who did this, who's the traitor. This is a great way to lean into. They have their like mosaic defense thing where you do the decapitation strike, and they segment themselves off into these 31 different like little regional blocks that kind of manage their own things and are loosely coordinated. Well, that actually is a great way of lining yourself up for a divide and conquer strategy. So, again, this is a great example of why maybe the best path is through. If they've set it up, they're like, okay, we're expecting a decapitation strategy, and so when we have the decapitation attack, then we're going to decentralize. All right, well then the way that you would combat that is you would actually trigger that. You know that that's their what they're going to do. That's their methodology, their method of operation. Then you intentionally trigger that so that then you can start segmenting them off from each other. Do the whole divide and conquer thing, and you send them into paroxysms by just publicly firing things off like this. Oh yeah, we've agreed to this. Oh, we're talking to people in Iran and they've agreed to this thing. Oh, wait, what? Who agreed to what? Who said who? You might trigger communications networks. You might get people relocating to places. He's also said in the past that they've had like satellite monitoring of that region, and nobody's gone in or out since they struck it. Is that true? I don't know. It's true because he said it's true. And another interesting subplot to this is, where did that uranium come from? Because you can identify the source of where the uranium came from. And you remember the Hillary Clinton uranium deal? Remember that whole story from, seems like eons ago? What if the uranium that Iran has is the uranium that came through the Hillary Clinton Ukrainian deal? Lots of interesting little nested subplots in all of this. Living Dead says, especially if you trigger it more quickly than you originally broadcast. Yeah, that's true. Because that's another thing that you can do, is you can agree on stuff, and you could agree on a particular timeline, and then you could publicly accelerate that timeline. And they're left where they either have to admit that they're getting muscled around, which makes them look weak, or they just have to bite the pillow and take it. Now let's talk about the midterms here just a little bit. Derek, Suitable Politic, mentioned him a minute ago, great Patriot poster. He has a sobering take here. He says, a hard truth that many on this people seem unwilling to face. All odds suggest that the Republicans will not win the midterms. They will lose, most likely, the House of Representatives. This is one of the most normal and banal occurrences in American politics. If it happens, excuse me, if it happens, and it probably will, there is pretty much nothing you could have done to stop it. Putting all your eggs into the basket of winning an election you almost surely won't win is just kind of silly. Not doing something you believe is right because you might lose an election you're already going to lose is ridiculous. It's comical. There's quite literally no policy that you can enact, no words you can utter to make low-propensity voters show up for the midterms en masse. If they were inclined to do that, they wouldn't be low-propensity voters. Part of the very lead here, part of the thesis here is that in order for Republicans to perform well in the midterms, they're going to have to turn out voters who historically don't tend to turn out for midterms. Those low propensity voters. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with that, and I think Derek doesn't also. It's kind of the conventional wisdom, but it also isn't necessarily true. It seems pretty clear from everything I've seen that the Republicans are definitely going to hold on to the Senate. There's even in a worst case scenario, it would take some act of God basically for the Republicans to lose the Senate. The House is much more 50-50, up in the air. All the historical trends all point toward them losing the House. But as Larry Schweikert here points out, our great boomer poster in the replies, he says, agree, but the biggest difference is that the structural shifts are all, every single one, moving against Democrats. Deportations of millions of voting illegals, GOP net registration gains, voter roll purges. Will that be enough? Stay tuned. The point that Derek is making here, though, is that there's people who are like, oh, why is Trump doing this? Why does Trump do X, Y, Z? Doesn't he know that the midterms are upcoming? Doesn't he know that if the Republicans don't win in the midterms, the Republicans we hate, the Republicans we want to destroy, doesn't he know that if they don't win, then all is lost and, I don't know, we might as well just go jump off a bridge or something? As Trump has said, I've got to do what's right. I've got to do what I believe is right. I can't just, make everything about winning elections. Which is, again, the sort of thing that virtually zero politicians will publicly say, much less actually follow through on. Some of them might say something like that, just give lip service to it. Very few of them will actually follow through on it. You don't have to agree that it's the right thing to do, but you can recognize that he does believe it's the right thing to do. And so if he does believe it's the right thing to do, and he recognizes, yeah, maybe it will cost us the midterms, but it's still the right thing to do, then doing it is the right thing. Now, Seth Levy here shares this video from Sean Spicer. You might remember Sean Spicer was the press secretary for a little while in Trump 1.0. So I suspect that he probably has some sources that he could get some leaks from. This is what he is sharing.
By the way, total side note on that, just to get on the record on this, I have been told by reliable sources that decision is done and that the minority is slow walking the dissent.
Now, the decision he's talking about is the Voting Rights Act decision. Now, it's possible something's come out about this. I haven't seen anything in the chat. It's possible something's come out about this today. Supposedly, there is one possibility that maybe they might release this decision today. I'd heard that. But that's the thing he's talking about. And he's saying the implication here, the voting rights decision has been made already, and the minority who are dissenting from the decision are slow walking it, which would imply that the decision is the good one, the good decision.
So that states can't, states do not have time to redistrict ahead of it. But I have been told very reliably that the minority is slow walking that dissent.
All right, wait, hold on a second, because I don't think I've read that anywhere. That is news.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so just 3, 2, 1. Sean, is there some politics being played at the Supreme Court?
Well, Dan, insiders
Working
that
the
I've talked to insist that the minority is slow walking the dissent on the voting rights case because they are trying to ensure that states won't have enough time to redistrict ahead of the 2028 midterms.
Wow. Clip and post.
By the way,
there you go. There's your little breaking news. Now, the way he's framed this up, and I don't. If the, as far as I'm aware, the way that the Supreme Court operates, if the decision has been made and they're just waiting for the dissent to be completed, the minority wouldn't have a way of preventing, of actually slow walking it. They can go live with the decision. They can publish and announce the decision while the dissent is still being written and modified and edited and whatever. I'm pretty sure that I don't think they have to have the dissent done, and that the justices could just drag their feet and take as long as they want writing the dissent, and the majority is just oh man, I wish we could get this out there. It's time sensitive, but I guess our hands are tied. However, John Roberts could this is absolutely the sort of thing that John Roberts would do. And as the Chief Justice, he may be the one that is I don't know. This is exigent circumstances, and he is breaking with tradition, breaking with custom, and he is the one who is slow walking it. Whether or not I can't really imagine a world where he is in the minority and it passes, I guess it's theoretically possible. It could be him with the three libs. I'd be kind of surprised. I kind of suspect that he would not vote that way. I think he's obviously a political actor. He's obviously motivated politically, not just neutral impartiality as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He's obviously a political actor, and has not hesitated to politicize things while trying to pretend as if what he's doing is actually trying not to politicize things. So if this is true, if the decision's already been made, and it's the they're striking down this race-based redistricting component of the Voting Rights Act, then my guess would be it'd probably be a 6-3 decision. It would just be kind of along party line, so to speak. But it's possible it's a 5-4, and this could all be. It's just like hearsay from a guy who may or may not have connections, so it may or may not be true. But there's starting to be little blips and rumors and signs here that this is something that is going to break our way. And where is that? Oh yeah, I got these out of order. Former White House press secretary Sean Spicer says reliable sources have told him the U.S. Supreme Court has decided to gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which mandates majority black congressional districts. Spicer also claims the source told him liberal justices are slow-walking the decision so that Republicans don't have time to redistrict before the midterms. I will note that there was a story, I didn't see the exact details of it, I just kind of skimmed by it, but I just remembered it now, about DeSantis postponing their redistricting process decision just recently. So if you kind of take these two together, if he's postponing it, then that may be that they're waiting for this to actually happen, so that there's the knock-on effects from this, with what states choose to do what once that happens. But here's just one example of what could happen without Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So this would be the current map. This is the area where it's like most relevant. It's going to impact redistricting decisions in a bunch of other states all across the country. And it could turn into a huge thing of a bunch of different states all redistricting. But this is where it would be most relevant, is in the Deep South. And you see all the blue here on the current map. This would be a plausible scenario for a redistricting after that happened. This is like, if the... I'm gonna leave this open because there is the possibility that this kicks off just a massive redistricting shuffle, and lots and lots and lots of things could change. But this is one of the major arrows in the quiver for Republicans in actually ensuring that they retain and maybe even extend their majority in the House in after the midterms. But it's going to... I've tried to follow this, and it's so hard to keep track of all the different districts and the way that different states do this differently, and some Republican state legislators are more reliable than others, and so I've kind of tried to keep an eye on it, but I'm not gonna. There's other people you could go to if you want the deep analysis of it. Sean Spicer actually talks about it quite a bit. He has his podcast that he does where he talks about it quite a bit. Christian Hines on X is another great source for this sort of thing. There's actually a good podcast I listened to yesterday with Nick Freitas and Christian Hines talking about different presidential candidates for the two parties in 2028, which was a pretty good listen. But so that Christian Hines would be another good guy to go to if you want more granular breakdown on this. Following up on that last tweet from Derek, Suitable Politic, he says, this is one way you can overcome the stuff I was talking about last night. Low propensity voters are going to be low propensity. But if you aren't reliant on them heading into the midterms, that improves the odds. This is what I was hinting at, that there is, like, the conventional wisdom is that the Republicans are going to need to turn out low propensity voters in order to actually be competitive in the midterms. However, and this hails back to a couple days ago in the King Pill Discord, there was a rather vigorous debate about the boomers and what the one big beautiful bill did in terms of tax refunds for boomers. Well, look at this. Seth Levy says, I've been highlighting this disparity and how it's actually very beneficial for the midterms. Trump is polling better amongst the higher propensity demographics. Check this out. We've got a Harry Enton appearance. Our great little micro Jew, my favorite polling bro on the internet.
I'll answer your question, Mr. Berman, and that is because President Trump is more than holding his own amongst a very large portion of the electorate, a very reliable voting bloc, and that is senior citizens. Take a look here, okay? Trump's approval rating age 65 plus. In March of 2025, 46%. Look at where it is now. It's basically the same. Seniors have not moved. He's at 44% now. And the key nugget here is for all this talk about young people in the electorate, such as myself, or at least I like to include myself in that block, it turns out that older voters, senior citizens, vote in far larger numbers. So Republicans look at this number and they say, hey, you know what? We can actually potentially do some real damage, or at least hold our own in the midterms, because President Trump is holding his own with this very important voting bloc.
So, 46% in March of 2025 among age 65 and over. Now, 44%. I would be curious to see what these numbers look like after a few more days, or maybe after a few more weeks, given the now documented massive tax returns many of the boomers got. You also have to consider that, so like the boomers are obviously from an age where people were naturally imbued with a more of a sense of like civic responsibility, even if it's sort of, you know, performative and hollow or whatever. They still had that sense of like, it's our duty to go vote. Younger people are much more cynical for very obvious reasons. But this is why there's a number of reasons why boomers are higher propensity voters. There's that. There's also the fact that if they're retired, you know, what else am I going to do? They grew up in a time where they followed the major news channels. So the news channels are going to be all talking about the midterms. So it's going to be on their radar to go vote. So they're the ones who tend to be much higher propensity. They're also the ones who lived through the Iran-Contra and the hostage crisis. So they have these deeply set negative associations with Iran. And it's the older generations who have been overwhelmingly much more positive about Trump's actions in Iran. One state that's very important, and I can't remember now if he talks about this in the video or not, but I'll say it now. One state where this is quite relevant is Maine. Maine has a huge population of boomers or just older people in general. They're kind of a swing state, especially more recently. And Susan Collins is one of those really key swing votes in the Senate. So giving her something to keep her in power and induce her into into voting more for Trump's agenda is strategically very good. So, Living Dead says the dip would ordinarily be much lower. Even in that demo, he's outperforming the trend. Yes, dropping approximately 2% is more like plus 10%. Yes. That's a good way of framing it. Normally, the dip for the incumbent would have been much more, probably into double digits. Just natural, people are just dissatisfied and whatever. Like this would be, the fact that he's only -2 is probably like +8, +10 above where he would be ordinarily.
So how does that number 44% compare historically to other presidents?
Okay, this is where it gets even more interesting. It turns out if you look at all the 21st century second-term presidents and you look at senior citizens, Trump actually has the best approval rating at this point in the second term of all of them. Donald Trump at 44%. Obama was under 40% at 39%.
There you
George
go.
W. Bush was way down there at 34%. So Donald Trump is beating other presidents this century at this point in their second term, beating all of them, and therefore, as I said, holding his own amongst a very key voting bloc. The President of the United States and the White House should like this number, especially compared to Obama, who Trump, of course, always likes to beat.
And this was George W. Bush after he started talking about reforming Social Security.
That's a bad idea.
Among seniors, it certainly is, the so-called third rail of politics. All right, talk to me how his number may have moved a little bit, President Trump's, and what that might mean.
Okay.
And this, just to touch on this again, like, I can understand the hostility, the resentment toward boomers in general. And then things like Social Security and them getting these massive tax, like I can understand why that would be frustrating. But you got to think of this from you can't on one hand be really fearful about what Democrats are going to do if they win in the midterms, and on the other hand be like, fuck the boomers, we need to be prescribing boomer property. We need to be bankrupting boomers. You can't hold both of these thoughts at the same time. Well, I mean, you can if you want to. You're just incoherent. And really, you're just being a lib. That's the vengeful son, sort of like revolutionary communist spirit that might dress itself in the trappings of, ooh, look at me, based right-winger. But it's still just revolutionary resentment. That's self-destructive. You want to win elections or not?
So, we spoke about the midterm election. So, oftentimes I ask myself, okay, the president isn't obviously up for election this November, but Republicans in the House are. And so I think just making this comparison, right, we've seen a lot of folks saying, oh, Republicans doom when it comes to the midterm elections. But just take a look at this, choice for election among age 65 plus. Back in November of 2024, Trump won that group by 1 point. We've seen some movement, but really not that much movement. Democrats ahead by 3 in the race for Congress. And as John and I were talking about, this could cost Republicans the House, but a number like this suggests to me that Republicans very, very well and are likely to hold the Senate. This is what we've seen in the polling data. When we look nationally, we see that the movement, simply put, isn't there. And when you get the most reliable voting bloc, basically Republicans holding their own with maybe some slight movement of Democrats, these are the types of numbers that I think Republicans have to be pleased with.
I will say, though, even this slight movement, probably enough at this stage to think.
For the House, but not for the Senate.
All right, we're talking about the Senate here. There is a Senate race in a state that I'm told has a fair number of seniors. That's Florida. Republican Ashley Moody up for re-election there. What are the prediction markets saying about her chances?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people in New York City who may have some older relatives who live down on the Gold Coast in Southeast Florida. You think of the Villages as well. And take a look here. Chance that the Republicans wins, the Republicans hold on in the 2026 Florida Senate race. Look at this, an 83% chance. So the bottom line is this. Florida, a state with a lot of seniors, looks like Republicans are holding their own there. Not a big surprise, as we've seen nationally, Republicans holding their own with seniors, Donald Trump holding his own with seniors, and that's a key reason why the bottom hasn't fallen out and Republicans have a fighting chance heading into this midterm election.
Harold Denton, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did he call him Harold? Harold Denton? Living Dead says he literally does not fit any standards and people still think the same rules always apply. Right. And like, this is obviously it's midterms, so Trump's not on the ballot, but he's going to put himself on the ballot. And still, there are so many things so many shoes left to drop here. You got the Voting Rights Act, you got birthright citizenship, you've got more purging of voter rolls, you've got more like Tulsi Gabbard stuff that can potentially drop. You've got all the different redistrictings. You've got the USPS and election security stuff. There's going to be more election security stuff. Like if the SAVE Act doesn't pass, then Trump's going to be issuing more executive orders toward that. There's a lot, and then obviously all the deportations and everything. So there is a tremendous amount of like a current that's building up, driving things more in the Republican direction. Obviously, there are currents going the other direction as well, but it's a matter of like what's ultimately going to win out. Living Dead says people will more readily side with third world Browns to own the plan trusters over accepting the boomers that are actually driving the ball forward. So true. Again, revolutionary communism, third world resentment. It's the same spirit. You cannot, just because they're surrounding us, sometimes in real life and definitely on the internet, just because they're surrounding us does not mean you should let your guard down and begin embodying their spirit. Okay. You may have heard that the ATF has confirmed that the bullet fragment that they have that killed Charlie Kirk is they said it is not the same. Well, here is the actual report. Kaneko the Great has shared it. It says, breaking, an ATF report in the Charlie Kirk murder case is out. And it found that the bullet that killed Kirk was a .30 caliber class fragment, consistent with Robinson's Mauser 98. But it was so deformed that analysts couldn't make a definitive match. Result, inconclusive. Now, bad faith actors have framed this as saying, see, they proved it doesn't match. No, it was inconclusive because it was so deformed. The ATF lab described finding, quote, one .30 caliber class deformed/damaged bullet jacket fragment and 4 lead fragments. What prosecutors can prove, the fired cartridge case was positively ID'd as fired from Robinson's rifle. So the the fired cartridge case and the rifle. The fired cartridge was fired from the rifle that is claimed to be his. So the cartridge that they found there was confirmed as fired from the rifle that they claim that they've reported was his. And tool marks on the casings match a rotary engraving tool like the Dremel seized from Robinson's home. Now the state wants to go further, running new virtual comparison microscopy technology, VCM technology, and metallurgical testing on the fragments. P.S. To everyone who said it wasn't a .30 caliber bullet, the ATF disagrees. Now, this has been there's a lot of people, and I don't know, I know like just enough to get myself in trouble with some of this. I guarantee you, the majority of you guys in the chat may even know more about all of this stuff than I do, but I know enough to know that, first of all, human bones are much harder than people appreciate. The fact that like you can like break a bone doing like sometimes like relatively low what would you call it? Like low impact behavior or whatever, like leveraging a thing like twisting twisting or flexing, like that's very different than direct impact on a thing. One of the like obviously a femur and a neck bone are different, but one of the factards that has always stuck with me is a human femur wielded as a club can break concrete. Human bones are very, very hard. Also, bullets do weird shit. And I've seen more than enough reports now from people who have hunted with a 30-06 who have said sometimes it does like super catastrophic damage. Sometimes it like has the small entry wound, it goes in, and then it sort of like spirals around inside the animal, and it doesn't totally obliterate it. Bullets do weird things. It also has to do with like the how was the bullet was the round was it like packed at home? What sort of powder was used for it? How long was it just out there sitting on a shelf? Was it like fresh, just purchased from the store, Full Metal Jacket? Was it old ammo that had been sitting there on a garage shelf for 50 years in heat and humidity and dry and cold and all, like there's all sorts of different things. The ammo is 8 years old. Okay, so the ammo's a little old, is older. There's all sorts of things that could play into like what was the exit velocity of the round when it left the rifle. There's so many things here that can play into whether or not it will like a movie, it just like it totally explodes and his head goes flying off, versus it looks about like it did and the round winds up shattering, disintegrating, and ping-ponging around inside his body. A lot of people have made themselves into complete assholes, talking out of their assholes about this. Aspiring Midwit says, and taking a Dremel to a cartridge can change its integrity. That's another good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Living Dead says, I think I can interpret this. Shot a deer last year with no exit wound, and I couldn't find the projectile anywhere inside it either. Shit happens like this all the time. Yeah, right. Yeah, shit just happens. This sort of stuff is wonky. So the story that was told that the round lodged itself against his spine is not it would not be outside the realm of possibility. And I don't know this stuff well, and like I'm not an expert on it, but I know enough to know that. And there's also there is the fact that nobody would really want to acknowledge that this could have been a divine intervention to prevent it from being so much worse. Who knows what it could have hit behind him, if it had deflected somewhere. It could have looked it was bad enough as it was, but it could have looked so much worse and been so much more horrifying. So there's also the possibility of divine intervention that plays into this as well. But everybody already who's commented on this has already made up their mind about it. So they're starting with their own conclusion and then reasoning back from that and accusing everyone else of being bad faith. And that's what I just cannot, that's what I cannot stomach. So maybe a surprising source has some very good takes on this.
You have to clarify one question for us grow-wipers. Do you really believe Kirk's neck absorbed a 30.06 bullet? Just a simple yes or no is fine.
First of all, fuck you, you're stupid. Stop watching my show tonight. Like, seriously, unsubscribe and don't watch anymore. Just a yes or no will do. First of all, nobody's saying...
Just a yes or no, like, asking someone a question like that and saying just a yes or no will do, like, you can get fucked with that. Just a yes or no will do. You smug, smarmy piece of shit. You are scum on the bottom of someone's shoe.
That his neck absorbed the bullet. What you are saying is that there is a mysterious second shooter that shot him with another gun, and some interagency conspiracy planted the wrong gun. Is that what you believe? They got the wrong gun with a different bullet caliber and they fucked that up? Oops. Oh man, Kash Patel and Netanyahu must be facepalming. Damn it. Oh man, we almost got away with it, but we put the wrong gun in the woods. Our shooter shot him with a handgun, who no one has identified and has found any evidence of, as far as we know, doesn't exist. Oh, but we planted the wrong gun. What do you think? They fished it out of a barrel? Here's our barrel of fake prop guns for false flags. Just take any one of them. The Goyim won't know. Oh no, Candace saw that his head didn't turn into a pink mist. Is that what you believe, or what happened there? Do you know that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot with a 30-06? Candace Owens said, is there any example in history of a person being shot with a 30-06 and there's no exit wound? Yeah, I'll do you one. How about MLK Jr.? MLK Jr. was shot in the face with a 30-06. It left a small entry wound. It traveled down, and where do you think it landed? I think it landed in his collarbone or in his shoulder area, because that is how bullets behave. Depending on what type of round it was, depending on the quality of the bullet, what the projectile actually was. Yes, sometimes...
Yes, Slutty Milk. There's probably lots of World War II examples. Probably tons of them.
Bullets do these things. When they enter the human body, yes, sometimes they will change their trajectory, or they will split into different pieces. They do a lot of different things. Different bullets are designed to do different things inside of the human body. Have you ever heard of a Full Metal Jacket? Have you ever heard of a hollow point? Different bullets are designed to do different things upon impact. And people say, so you're saying it absorbed this bullet? And it's like, you don't know anything about the subject, because if you've done any research, anyone will tell, any ballistics expert will tell you that bullets do weird things when they go inside of a human body. You know, and that's just like physics 101. It's sort of like if you ask Candace Owens, what's heavier, 10 pounds of bricks or 10 pounds of feathers? And she goes, the bricks. It's just physics. You know, you think it's, you create a mental model in your head of what a bullet.
Some of these women, they're so stupid.
It is, and you see it going through ground beef, not understanding the physical properties of a bullet, of the human body, of bone, for example. It is impossible that a bullet would not leave an exit wound. What are your qualifications to say this? It's impossible. So if it's impossible, then there must be a second shooter. It's not impossible. And you don't know that, and you don't have expertise. That's the problem. It's just all this like, all I'm saying is it's weird. All I'm saying is it's weird. That's not what you're saying, you fucking stupid idiot.
A banger. He comes out with them every so often. It's a banger. And you know, all as I'm saying, it's just kind of weird. These are the same frickin' people who were like, oh, they totally wasted it. Totally wasted this generational opportunity. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is federally prosecuting Antifa. Sebastian frickin' Gorka is working at the National Counterterrorism Center to get the FBI investigating people who are like anti-Christian terrorists. And the biggest thing, that has, let's say, gummed up the works has been the mass retard call-out of the people who take something like this, pick it up, and run with it because of shit stains like Ian Carroll or Candace Owens or any of these other people who have been party to this. Again, you've got like the facts on the ground, and then you've got the narrative. The narrative here is this was a Antifa leftist guy who was boning a tranny. That's the narrative. You want to make hay with that narrative? You want to use that to bludgeon our enemies? That's the narrative. As soon as you begin diluting that narrative down and turning it into intergalactic intergalactic space Jews who are bending the laws of time and space to it's like there's some guy who's like shooting underneath his arm or exploding pagers, like all this sort of stuff. You motherfuckers, you're the ones who are blowing the generational opportunity. You're the ones creating that. You don't know shit about criminal prosecutions. You don't know shit about ballistics. You don't know about any of this stuff, but you've got a YouTube channel. You've got a Twitter account. Well, I'm just asking questions. Get fucked. Aspiring Midwit says, EMT friend of mine responded to attempted self-deletion call. Guy used a .22. Bullet stayed between skin and skull, went over the top of his head, and ended up on the other side of his skull. Fractured the skull, but he's still alive. Bullets do weird shit. Yes. Imagine that. Like, imagine telling someone that. Like, if that had been what had happened. So, oh, yeah, the bullet went in under the skin, then it stayed under the skin, but outside the skull, traveled around his head, and then wedged on the back of his head between the skin and the skull, and it cracked his skull, but he's still alive. Oh, that sounds... No, there's no way. It must have been the Jews. Once again, great thing about the internet is it gives anyone a voice. But perhaps the worst thing about the internet is that it gives anyone the voice. Gives anyone a voice. There are so many people who do not deserve a voice. And if there's anything the last 18 months or so has shown us, it's that way more people don't deserve a voice than perhaps previously thought possible. You know who does deserve a voice? My man Nayib Bukele. Leading report tweeted, El Salvador banned the Edgar haircut, a bowl cut style with straight bangs in public schools as part of restoring discipline. You guys know the Edgar haircut. And Bukele quote tweeted it and said, what must be done leaves no room for hesitation. We must deport all Edgars. Oh, look at my shit posting head of state. Beautiful, beautiful. And then I just had to include this. Patriot spotted. Clay Martin. Hoppa just for some reason here. Is that a Hoppa line? What must be done leaves no room for hesitation? Hold on a second. Is that an actual quote from something? This is all just linking to Bukele. Stanzas written in dejection near Naples. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, is it a King Lear? No. Okay, anyways. Now there's one thing I had to... Is that a Hoppa line? If that is a Hoppa line, then maybe it merits even more chimping. But there was one other thing here. Where did it go? Someone asked Grok As a resident of the San Antonio area, I applaud this motion. Very based. Peaches Vatos. Someone asked Grok to give Bukele the Edgar haircut, and it is so good. Patriot spotted. It's damn it, Jeremy. Oh, here we go. Taylor Day says, Grok, give Bukele an Edgar haircut. You guys are not ready for this. You guys are 100% not at all prepared for what you're about to see. I did a spit take when I saw this earlier this morning. Oh, you will live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. Busted Bukele. Bro looks 200% more Mexican. Oh, that's incredible. Incredible things. All right. Well, it looks like unless someone wants to throw about $240 in the pot here in the next minute or so, then we are going to wrap up another great week of Laves. We were right at the 3-hour mark. Quite good, if I do say so myself. I might actually get a little bit of sleep here before we go to the King Pilled voice chat tonight. The Discord will be voice chatting probably around 8 p.m. Central Time. Looking forward to seeing all the usuals in there. And if anyone wants to join us, go to kingpill.com and sign up. And I'll save this article, History is Running Backwards, Why Reactionaries Are Taking Over the World, by David Brooks in The Atlantic. Actually, quite a good read. I will save that for probably sometime next week. I appreciate all of you guys. Let me just double check the Ko-fi and make sure nothing came in that didn't trigger the alert. Sometimes I forget to do that, and I feel bad right after I finish, and I see someone sent something, and it didn't come through. Nope, nothing. So, I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for showing up for another episode of the Astrolabe. It's very good. It's been a good week. Hopefully it was a blessed, bright week for you guys. Please do share the show. And as I said earlier, stay tuned for some very interesting conversations with Mr. Miranchuk, who I see in the chat now. And we'll be having some interesting conversations with some interesting guests here in the very near future. Miranchuk now has returned, and we are going to Magoo! Look at him dance! I love it!
Crude is down, straight is open. Have a great weekend, Labians.
So true! Have a great weekend, boys. Please do share the show. Please do contribute to the tip goal. You could do it any time of night, a day. Tips.kingpill.com. Kingpilled on Buy Me a Coffee, Cash App, Venmo. There's a Substack you can follow. You can subscribe over there if you want. Another way you can support. And maybe the number one thing you could do is you could go to kingpilled.com. Come join us. Join the crew. The Discord is constantly popping. Got the best people in the world all in there. And you're missing out if you are not joining us. So, voice chat tonight around 8 p.m. Central. Pseudolabe tomorrow. Probably it'll be tomorrow midday sometime. I don't know exactly. I haven't thought that far ahead. So go follow the King Pill Telegram channel, and I will alert you guys as to when I will be going live for that. It's going to be a good one. The Departed. It'll be good to see you guys there for that. And I'll be back on Monday for another episode of The Astrolabe. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania